Missed. A stray bullet. Calculations were perfect. Aim was on target. And yet, in all of the planning, constructing, and deconstructing, one thing was not accounted for. Human nature, the ability to change the path of the future with one single action. Bastard! Uzumaki Naruto growled through his teeth. He could feel it rushing through him. Power entered through his neck, spreading like a virus, tainting his body, blood, and chakra. The forest and all that was around him slowly drifted away as his grin was replaced with an expressionless face. His body reacted by freezing itself to an absolute still position. It was like a mixture of all the pain and pleasure he had ever had in his life, multiplied by 1,000, and the pain was much more notable. He suddenly grinned, as his attacker backed off, confusion in his eyes. He looked behind him to see his teammate and number one rival, Uchiha Sasuke, staring right back at him. "Are you injured?" "Scaredy-cat," he managed to gather enough energy to say, as he breathed deeply, still frozen even after the snake bastard's neck had retracted. "I missed." Orochimaru, looking over to the bite he placed on the blonde's neck, scowled. Apparently there was more to the fox child than he originally thought. The bite had left a tattoo-like mark, shaped like a shuriken. Orochimaru was intent on originally biting Sasuke, after already sealing the QB inside Naruto and tossing him away. But of course Naruto was the last person to back down when his friends were in danger, standing in the way of the attack, somewhat altering what seemed to be a certain future. "Believe it." With the last of his dwindling energy, Naruto spoke as he collapsed into Sasuke's arms. Sasuke was left alone and scared, once again, recounting what had happened, from the time Orochimaru defeated Naruto and tossed him away, to the time when he was stopped, frozen in place by his killing intent. And now, just when he was about to attack the Uchiha heir, Naruto once again foolishly stepped in the way, saving Sasuke, thus humiliating him once again. "This seems problematic," Orochimaru said, eyes darting, contemplating his next move. "I can't risk going for another attack. I can already sense them coming." "Stop right there," Orochimaru grinned, his prediction fulfilled as a woman landed on a tree branch away from him. "I wouldn't move if I was you." She watched as the face of the grass Nin melted off, revealing the deformed human Orochimaru truly was. "We both know you won't be able to catch me, Anko." He grinned as he jumped forward, from branch to branch, fleeing from her. Anko pursued Orochimaru, knowing very well that she most likely wouldn't be able to stop him without getting killed herself. She jumped forward, catching up to her former mentor. Using a quick jutsu, her arm turned into a snake as she went to attack Orochimaru. "Pathetic," Orochimaru spat, grabbing the snake arm and using her momentum to throw her into another tree. "Using an opponent's own moves against him? Are you still angry at me for leaving you, Anko?" Anko spat out blood as she stood up, pulling the finger in his direction. "Are you still disappointed that I left you?" She shot back, throwing another kunai at him. As he dodged, she charged again, throwing him back into another tree, before proceeding to unleash a flurry of punches onto his body. She pounded him into the tree behind them and trapped him against the trunk while pulling out a kunai. "I'm going to borrow this hand, if you don't mind." She grabbed his left hand with her right and stabbed a kunai through both their hands and into the tree behind them, forming a hand seal. "Are you really prepared to use that seal to kill us both?" Orochimaru grinned back at Anko, angering her further. His face brought back more painful memories, as she begun to use the jutsu, but Orochimaru's face quickly turned into a twisted smile. "I could let you kill yourself now, but I'd rather be more forgiving." Orochimaru disappeared in smoke, leaving Anko's hand stuck into the tree. "Akage Bunshin?" Anko growled. "Yes, your effort was to no avail," he cackled, spinning a kunai in his hand. "I think you might be interested in knowing that I just gave another person a cursed seal. I picked it out especially for him." "You seem disappointed? Was he one of the unlucky 1 out of 10? "I'm happy you noticed, but for your information, he did live," Orochimaru said, She knew him enough to know when he was disappointed and when he was happy. He survived like you, but I see you're still jealous. But you missed. You old fool. Anko confirmed her suspicions. So your objective failed. Go back to your hiding spot and rot there like you're supposed to. She removed the kunai painfully as she prepared to launch another attack on her former mentor. Funnily enough, things might go better than planned. And you know how eager I can get. Orochimaru laughed as he disappeared, leaving Anko in pain as he activated her cursed seal, triggering a reaction in her body. Once again, I failed. Things were not going as planned for Sakura. First she was attacked by the Sound 3, and then she had to be saved by Rock Lee. She wasn't able to protect herself even then. Even when she had a chance to prove herself, she was once again saved by the Inoshikacho trio. And now something else was going wrong. Naruto was awake, and he didn't look like the Naruto she and Sasuke knew. The person who had been called dead last was now all that stood between the Sound trio and the battered Team 7. You injured my teammates, a voice said from behind Sakura, gaining the full attention of the Sound trio. That's Naruto? Shikamaru looked at the change in him, both in the way he spoke and looked. Ino, get out of there, he yelled, picking up Ino's body, as her spirit jumped out of Kin's body. It was you, wasn't it? Naruto rose up in his full glory, black tattoos moving around his body. The tattoos were shaped like fangs, moving in sync with the red and purple chakra that circle around his body, as his eyes turned a dark red color. But right now I have all this power, and I'm feeling like taking some vengeance. Sakura. Naruto turned to his comrade, grinning maniacally. Was he the one who attacked you? Naruto grinned as she gave a feeble nod. He charged straight at Zaku, punching him in the chest. His chakra increased massively, Dosu said, immediately trying to reach his injured teammate. Not a chance. Naruto appeared behind Dosu, grabbing him and tossing him to the ground. Don't let your guard down in front of me, Zaku yelled out as he aimed at Naruto. Ultimate Zankaha. Naruto turned around to see the blast of air surge in his way. Got you. Zaku grinned as he breathed heavily. That attack was the most destructive one he had in his arsenal. Got who? Naruto said from behind Zaku as he kicked him into the ground. Zaku looked at the spot in which he aimed the attack and found Dosu lying on the ground, injured. Before he could get up, Naruto's foot was already on his back, pushing him back down every time he tried to recover. He took his foot off as Zaku got up and attempted to attack Naruto for a second time. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto was too quick for Zaku, his clones slashing Zaku with kunais as they sprinted past. Naruto walked up to the scarred body that laid on the ground. Driven by his rage, Naruto lifted the injured Sound Nin up and proceeded to punch his chest. The others around him tried to turn away and ignore Zaku's screams of pain. Naruto drew back his fist, preparing for a final strike. He spoke the words that had haunted him all his life. You disappoint me. Naruto, stop. Naruto prepared to strike, though he was stopped as he felt a sudden warmth wrapping around him. Please stop. He could feel a body pressing against his, calming him down. He dropped Zaku as the tattoos retreated, and his eyes turned to its normal color. Naruto turned around and looked to see who was wrapped around him. Ino? Candles flickered, lighting the room and supplying little warmth to the blond boy. Sitting unconsciously on the cold cement floor, he was surrounded by the circles of candles and calligraphy. None of these affected him. He was far gone in another place, lost in his dreams, made unconscious from a certain jutsu. Lines were painted onto the ground, various kanji characters, leading from each of the candles, all the way to Naruto's body, up his skin and onto the right side of his neck, onto his cursed seal. Admiring his work, Kakashi proceeded to stand over Naruto's body and placed a hand over the cursed seal. Reciting the seals and instructions, he began to grip his neck harder before saying the sealing jutsu. Fujihoin, evil sealing. The jutsu activated almost immediately, as the kanji that Kakashi had drawn around Naruto's body began moving like a snake into the cursed seal, where it seemingly disappeared. Only after the kanji characters disappeared did a black circle form around the cursed seal, glowing a flaming red color, causing Naruto's body to shake greatly. In Naruto's mind, various things were playing out. Instead of one body forced into a calm state of rest, two bodies were. The first being the owner of the body, Naruto, and the second being the prisoner inside the body, the demon Kyuubi. So we meet. The Kyuubi bared its giant teeth from inside its cage. I guess so, Naruto said, as he sat down on nothingness, folding his legs. You're the source of all my problems? The all-powerful demon everybody is afraid of, Naruto teased. You're the all-powerful jailer? I'm guessing you came here to trade bodies. The Kyuubi cackled. Aren't you going to try and attack me? Jump out from that cage and eat me? Naruto laughed. Or is your strength just an urban legend? I've been trying to for the last 13 years, but it seems that Hokage managed to box me in here pretty well. The Kyuubi growled, too lazy to get up. The first 5 years for his imprisonment was trying to break out, but it always came to no use, only tiring him more and occasionally giving the boy a boost in chakra. Looking back at Naruto, he began to wonder why he was here. Exactly what are you doing? The Kyuubi asked from behind bars, slightly humored at the cross-legged boy. Meditating, he replied, clenching his eyes together even tighter. A long, awkward silence followed before Kyuubi decided to break the ice. Is it working? He cursed himself for asking the question. It not only sounded stupid, but for Kyuubi, it was out of his usual demonic character. It isn't now. Naruto opened one eye. Kakashi-sensei said it would help if I meditated, to help me through some sort of pain or something. I don't know what he's talking about because I feel fine. 3. Kyuubi began his countdown, predicting what was about to happen. You just had to taint your chakra further, didn't you? 3. What is this, a countdown or something? Naruto got up, looking around. 2. Kyuubi sighed. Of course it is a countdown. Now if I was you, I would sit down and meditate like your damn sensei told you to. What do you mean? Nothing's happening, Naruto yelled back. 1. Kyuubi stared at Naruto. Close your eyes, gentlemen. This may hurt. What? Kyuubi was right. It did. After shaking violently, Naruto's body collapsed and fell onto the floor. Kakashi was left standing, collecting himself as he wiped the sweat of his forehead, breathing deeply. For him, it actually went better than expected. The Kyuubi must have been able to reduce the pain, one of the advantages and disadvantages of having the demon. The demon's chakra made it harder to seal and more difficult for Naruto to handle, so he decided to put him in a temporary unconsciousness. So you can even use sealing jutsu now, a voice said from behind Kakashi. You've grown. What are you doing here, Orochimaru? Kakashi stared into the eyes of the former Konoha shinobi. You're just asking to be killed. So nice to see that you missed me. Orochimaru grinned back. He was dressed in what seemed to be his former Jounin uniform, with the sound headband around his head. You're after Naruto, aren't you? Kakashi assumed attacking position in front of Naruto, ready to make a move if Orochimaru did. Very perceptive of you. Yes, the Kyuubi is one of the things I hope to possess. Orochimaru dared to take a step forward, causing Kakashi to alter his stance. But unlike you, some of us weren't as lucky to get our hands on the Sharingan. Never knew you were starting a collection, going after Sasuke as well. Kakashi stared into the eyes of the snake-like Nin. Would I be pushing it if I was to guess you were also after Sakura Aswell? 3's a lucky charm, you know. Kakashi laughed to himself, trying to cure his current nervousness in this confrontation. Sakura? So that's the girl's name. No, she lacks what the two boys have. The village of sound has no use for her. Did I just give away too much? Orochimaru laughed. I guess you could already assume what I plan to do. Another step forward as Kakashi widened his stance. I just need more pieces of the puzzle. So Naruto and Sasuke, they're just pieces? Kakashi asked. To you, that may be all they are, but to me, what? Replacements for your fallen comrades? Those sound means. The ones that are fighting, and more that you probably haven't guessed yet. They're just pawns. If you get any closer, even if you are a Sannin, I will kill you. Kakashi dropped his right hand as it started glowing with lightning chakra. Really? Everything you've done is meaningless. Everything you're about to do will become meaningless. Don't you understand, Kakashi? Orochimaru grinned, proceeding to take another step, as more chakra surged in Kakashi's hand. The seal was also meaningless. No matter what you do to achieve its own purposes, a human is willing to accept power, wherever it may come from and in whatever form. Sasuke wants power. Naruto needs someone to nurture his own. Naruto will eventually come to me, and then he will be instrumental in helping me gain the Sharingan. They will not become pawns in your twisted game. Naruto will eventually seek me out. Both will. Orochimaru grinned. Especially with the cursed seal of demons that I placed on Naruto. But for now, if you want to kill me, give it your best shot. Raikiri! Kakashi yelled as he charged at Orochimaru. His headband lifted up, exposing the Sharingan. Orochimaru managed to dodge the attack, but Kakashi twisted and went to attack his chest. Orochimaru grabbed the arm holding the Raikiri and managed to throw him back next to Naruto's unconscious body. Kakashi regained his composure and once again assumed battle stance. Better luck next time, Orochimaru grinned as he disappeared. Fool, Kakashi said to himself. I was stupid enough to try and compete with that monster. Ino? A voice said from behind the blonde-haired girl, who was currently psyching herself up for the next match. Naruto, don't scare me like that next time, she yelled, turning around to face Naruto. He looked different somehow. He wore a simple black shirt with orange pants, clearly exhausted from whatever he had been doing. Ino, on the other hand, was dressed in her normal purple uniform. As both stared at each other, a silence followed, both being careful about what was to be said next. In the forest of death, Naruto began, to which Ino nodded. I know, Naruto. Thank you. Ino froze in her place, stunned by Naruto's last comment. Was the loud-mouthed, hyperactive ninja actually being polite and shy to her? You're welcome, she replied feebly. Good luck. That was all either of them had to say to each other, as both were lost for words in the awkwardness of the moment. Naruto walked one step closer. Shaking, he stretched out one hand to brush her face, moving hair from her cheek to their normal resting place. And then the warmth returned again. Ino? You're up. Shikamaru appeared from behind the door to the room. I interrupted something, didn't I? He looked towards the hugging shinobi. No! Both yelled, a bit over-exaggeratedly and loudly, as they jumped back at least 2 meters each. Whatever. Shikamaru left the two to their awkwardness. Once again. I guess we better go, Ino said, as Naruto nodded, and he proceeded to leave the room, before stopping at the door. You know, you're a really nice person, when you're not fawning over Sasuke. And then he left. He never even gave Ino a chance to reply, or even to wonder what he was doing in the women's bathroom in the first place. The fight had been even. Both girls laid unconscious on the floor after a well-planned attack from Ino. She had cut off her hair to make a connection between her and Sakura, and full-wed with a Shintenshin no Jutsu, which Sakura had been unable to dodge. The fight had then resulted to a battle in Sakura's mind, as her inner self managed to force Ino's subconscious out, and now both were down for the count, given 10 seconds to rise. Naruto, on the other hand, had went crazy. Come on, get out of bed already, get up and fight. Naruto yelled loudly, flailing his arms wildly. Gai-sensei, are we witnessing the flower of youth? Lee asked his sensei, confused about what the boy was doing. I'm not really sure, but I guess we can assume so, Guy said, rather more quieter than he usually was. Of course, Guy-sensei always makes the right decision. He activated his nice guy pose, as his teeth shined brightly under the lights. Naruto was still crazy and confused. Naruto? Who exactly are you cheering for? Sasuke asked, eyeing his blonde comrade. Isn't it obvious? Naruto asked, as he turned back to his yelling. No, Sasuke replied. Ino, on the other hand, was screwed. She had been kicked out of Sakura's mind, and all she had to do was get back to her body to win. The problem was, she wasn't sure she knew where her body was, if she had enough chakra, and she didn't really have much time. Have I lost? Ino said, as she frantically searched for her body. She was trapped somewhere between Sakura's and her own. Carefully following the trail of hairs she had cut out, she managed to make her way back to her own body, her consciousness returning. 2. Gecko Hayate counted before spotting movement in one of the girls. The winner of this match is... Hayate cleared his throat before continuing. Yamanaka Ino. The crowd clapped with enthusiastic cheers from Naruto. Yes, a loud voice could be heard cheering from the balcony where the other competitors and their senseis were. Naruto, Sasuke said, gaining the attention of the blonde. I think you're cheering for the wrong team. Oh right, go Sakura, he said feebly, as Sasuke just shook his head in embarrassment. What's wrong with you? I won my match, by the way, Sasuke said, sounding offended. Oh, Naruto grinned. Congratulations. So now you care. Sasuke rolled his eyes in response. You're sounding more like a girl every day. Naruto smirked, playfully punching Sasuke. How did your match and the others go? I obliterated him. Naruto pulled a face of disbelief, to which he just nodded. He was too close combat. As soon as he took a step forward, I just destroyed him with my fire jutsu. Easy victory. Overconfident S. Shino defeated the sound shinobi. Apparently he has bugs running through his body. Sasuke shrugged it off, as if it was an everyday thing. One of the sand trio got through as well, used some sort of puppet trick. And here we are now after Sakura's battle. I'm sure she'll be happy to know which one of us wasn't cheering for her. A cynical grin followed the calm tone of voice from Sasuke. You wouldn't dare. Naruto locked eyes with his teammate, until suddenly his name was called out. The next match is Inuzuka Kiba versus Uzumaki Naruto. Hayate cleared his throat loudly before coughing. I'll deal with you later. Naruto jumped down onto the ground to face Kiba and his dog. Perfect chance to show off my new move. Naruto grinned. New move? Kiba grinned in response. This will be easy. The 10 genins were stressed. Most were battered and bruised. Few were even unscathed. Naruto, on the other hand, was borderline dead. Suffering from the after effects of double sealing jutsus, from both Orochimaru and Kakashi, he was forced to fight Kiba with limited amount of chakra. He barely managed to pull through with his new Naruto Rindan combo, and even after that something in him forced him to want to challenge Neji to a fight. And still, Neji was able to hold a calm expression on his face, as if he didn't just recently mercilessly beat his cousin. But the more he thought about it, Naruto was the only one who dared show expression on his face. Everyone was serious, Sasuke was in deep concentration. Gaara, of course, was emotionless, but even Shikamaru was listening. I hope all of you are listening to the final instructions, the Hokage said rather sternly, as Naruto woke up from his daydream. As I previously said, 1 month will be given to improve yourself and analyze what you have learnt from your competitors up until now. From now on, there is no holding back. Could each of you step out and draw a number from this bag? It was Anko's turn to speak, as she held a bag in front, and gave it out to each of the genins that had proceeded to the final stage of the exam. What are these for? Kankuro asked as he drew a number. The Hokage waited till everyone was finished before he announced the reasons behind the numbers. The final exams will involve one-on-one matches. The Hokage cleared his throat. The number you have picked determines your opponents. We'll need each of you to read out your number. Marino Ibiki wrote down on his board, as each of the genin read out the number, looking over with a slight smile at what had been written down. The following matches will be held as of 1 month from today. Ibiki stated, Nara Shikamaru against Sabaku no Temari, Dosu Kinyuta against Uchiha Sasuke, Sabaku no Kankuro against Aburame Shino. Naruto cringed his face in anticipation. There were only 3 people left to face, and he didn't know if he wanted to fight any of them. Uzumaki Naruto against. Naruto jumped up as his name was called out. Hyuga Niji. That left 2 people, and it didn't sound very promising. So, the Hokage interrupted. That leaves Sabaku no Gaara to face Yamanaka Ino. A cruel grin appeared on Gaara's face, as Ino remained frozen in shock. It'll be all right. Ino suddenly felt a hand on her shoulder. She hated it when that happened. Mostly everyone did. Whenever Naruto went out of character, it usually meant something else was going on under that childish exterior of his. Because together we'll kick ass. Then again, you never know whether there was really a serious Naruto. You are all dismissed, the Hokage said, as Naruto tried to further his conversation with Ino. Naruto, there is no time for a casual conversation, Kakashi said, as he poofed behind the loud blonde. If you would excuse us, please, Miss Yamanaka, Kakashi said politely, as Ino walked off with Shikamaru, and Sasuke joined the conversation with Kakashi. I assume you are going to train him, aren't you? This comment came not from Naruto, but rather Sasuke. It sounds worse when you put it like that, Kakashi shrugged. But yes, because of the special circumstances I am left with no choice but to train Naruto myself. Do not worry though, Sasuke. I have found a special trainer for you. Sasuke's ears perked at the prospect of someone who could teach him something different. You have truly blessed me with training someone as gifted as Sasuke. The sight of a man in black spandex was not as promising as expected. My name is Ebisu, and by the end of the next month, you'll be a powerful shinobi. Be careful, Naruto quietly whispered in Sasuke's ear. He's a closet pervert. 1 week later. 48, 49. Naruto breathed heavily as he continued doing the push-ups. Normally 50 push-ups would be easy for the hyperactive Naruto, but Kakashi wasn't an easy trainer, as he had been constantly repeating. And there was the fact that these weren't land-based push-ups. He was doing it on water. Kakashi had greatly improved Naruto's chakra control, all the while teaching him basic but effective jutsus. 50. Do it again, Kakashi said, reading his book while he sat under a nearby tree, next to the lake. Naruto collapsed into the water. What? Naruto yelled, as he pulled himself out of the water and prepared to do another set of 50 push-ups. Do it again, Kakashi said, as Naruto angrily began his count. Faster, Kakashi said as Naruto picked up speed. Faster. Harder. The calls continued, as Naruto tried his best to do as instructed. I'm doing it as fast and hard as I can. Oh yeah, that hit the spot, Kakashi said, as the shocked Naruto once again collapsed into the water. Why are you still doing push-ups? I thought I told you to stop half an hour ago. But you told me to do it again. Kakashi shook his head in response. You told me to go faster and harder. And I did. Did I? Kakashi laughed to himself. Sorry. I tend to read aloud sometimes. Naruto knew that all too well. They trained and camped out in the middle of a forest on the border of Konoha, and it was frequent for Kakashi to read aloud the more adult scenes of his books, while the scared Naruto lay on his bed with his eyes wide open. I think it's time to practice your use of taijutsu again. Come and get your lunch. Kakashi grinned under his mask, holding a packet of instant ramen. Naruto climbed out of the lake, cracking his knuckles as he prepared to claim his prize. I'll definitely get it this time, Naruto yelled, as he charged at Kakashi. Kunais flew in his direction, as he easily dodged it. He failed to notice the tripwire as more kunai dropped on him from above. Naruto disappeared in a poof. What was though to be his original body was just a Kage Bunshin shadow clone. Naruto neared Kakashi and went for the grab, but found in his hand a rock instead. A quick kawarimi, body swap, jutsu. A kick was followed by Kakashi, but his foot instead made contact with the same rock. Naruto used the same kawarimi jutsu on Kakashi. Naruto crouched on the ground, gaining distance from Kakashi's current position. Shunshin no Jutsu, body flicker technique. The untraceable move had been executed as Naruto had practiced 1,000 times. The right amount of his own chakra surged through his feet and launched him into the sky faster than the eye could catch. A second Shunshin in midair propelled him back to Kakashi, who wasn't quick enough to get the instant ramen stolen from him. Congratulations in succeeding, Naruto. Kakashi applauded as he walked behind the hungry genin. But I have some constructive criticism to help you with. Please explain, Naruto said, words muffled by the ramen in his mouth. Remember what I said in our first test? Never let an opponent get behind you. You deserve this. Following, Naruto felt 1,000 years of pain as he flew into the sky and landed hard on his ass. Damn, that hurt. Naruto rubbed his sore bottom, where Kakashi's fingers had previously been. I think you're ready. Kakashi smiled as he watched Naruto get up. I found a technique that would help use your excessive amount of chakra. Really? Kuchios no Jutsu. Kakashi threw a copy of Ika Paradise at Naruto. But first, read this book. Damn it! Sasuke yelled as he smashed the balloon into the ground. Never had he been so frustrated in his life. He was faced with the task of popping the balloons with his chakra only, but they resembled the hurdle he just couldn't get over. He pumped the next balloon with anger-fueled chakra, more and more until finally release. After 6 long days, day and night, of just trying to pop the damn balloons, he finally succeeded. Extreme emotion was the key. Oh, so you're done already? The gray-haired man grinned. He reminded Sasuke of an older, much more perverted version of Naruto. But he truly was a powerful man, considered legendary by Konoha. Sasuke could still remember when he was going through the boring exercises with Ebisu, who foolishly tried to stop the man from spying on bathing women. Ebisu was placed in hospital, all because the man had squashed him with a frog. So does the great Sanin's training method work? It pissed me off, Sasuke said right after grinning. But yes, it did work, Jiraiya. Your chakra control allowed you to get it done well before I thought you would. I guess it is kind of fun to teach geniuses once in a while. Jiraiya smiled as he put a hand on Sasuke's head and messed his hair, something Sasuke surprisingly allowed. So do you understand why I'm teaching you this now? So you can occupy me while you go out looking for desperate women willing to do anything for money? Sasuke responded with a smirk. I take back my statement about geniuses. Improve my chakra control? Sasuke changed his answer, hoping to win over his sensei. Your chakra control is already good as it is and doesn't need much working on, as you can already do most basic jutsus, and the more powerful fire jutsus as well. Jiraiya explained. I'm intending you of teaching a jutsu called the Rasengan, a jutsu created by the 4th Hokage. Rasengan was based on the simple method of a constant spinning ball of pure chakra, capable of ripping through even the toughest substances. For example, chakra gathered in Jiraiya's right hand, little by little, slowly forming a mini tornado, constantly spinning. Finally, it reached an incredible rate, forming a ball of pure chakra as Jiraiya stated. Using it, he pushed the ball of chakra through a nearby tree, going right through it. That's the Rasengan? Jiraiya was happy to leave a good impression on his student, as he stared at the demolished tree. When used on an opponent, it has the potential to cause internal damage. When the Rasengan is created, no further chakra is needed, thus making it limitless. If I was to release all the chakra on the tree instead of just grinding it through, I probably would have created an explosion of chakra causing about the same amount of damage, just more messy. So, am I done learning it? Sasuke asked, eager to obtain he powerful jutsu that might further him to defeating his brother, giving Sasuke the power boost he needed. There are 2 more steps you must complete. Jiraiya grinned, as he dropped a bag of rubber balls in front of Sasuke. Pop these first and then we'll talk. But for now, as you put it, I'm going to go look for desperate women. Sasuke sighed, as he began taking on the task in front of him. Takako, don't leave, I love you. Naruto yelled out loudly in a manly voice, before changing to a high-pitched squeal. But I have to, because... His voice went lower, and he pretended to take off a false mask. I'm a man. The crowd of Ninken, ninja dogs, erupted in applause and barks of happiness, as Naruto bowed to his audience. Well done, Naruto, Kakashi grinned. 2 days left of training, and I'm reading adult novels to a group of dogs. Naruto sighed, scratching the back of his head. It was a good break from the usual training Kakashi had Naruto doing, usually involving chakra exercises, taijutsu spars, and summoning the Ninken. That's how I got them to be my summons in the first place. Kakashi sighed, turning back to his own book. I remember as a child, reading this to them. No wonder you're so mentally scarred. Naruto muttered to himself. Isn't that right, Naruken? Naruto rubbed the head of the large black dog next to him. It wore a blue t-shirt on its back, with the Uzumaki swirl. It had become his first summon, along with Kakashi's group of Ninken. Naruto, I've taught you as much as I could in this space of time, and I think I've given you all the skills necessary to pass the next exam. Naruto nodded as he listened to his sensei. I want you to remember one thing. When Orochimaru sealed the Kyuubi chakra, it was seemingly closed off, right? Yeah, I've been relying on my own chakra for the past couple of weeks. The cursed seal provides a sort of secret passage into the chakra banks of the Kyuubi. Kakashi said in the simplest form possible to make sure Naruto understood. What I'm trying to say is, I'm allowing you to use your curse seal to draw out the extra needed if the time ever comes. But I want you to take control of yourself. I've taught you these techniques so you can protect your friends, and that's what the extra chakra should be used for. Understand? Yes. Naruto tried to take in as much as possible. Then let's use these 2 days to our advantage as much as possible. Ninken, attack! The group of dogs leapt at Naruto, who immediately created several Kage Bunshin to protect himself. Why are you training me? There were few moments when Sasuke and Jiraiya had actual conversations, as most of them involved training. The 2 of them sat in a cafe inside Konoha, as they had completed their training. I was actually wondering when you'd ask me that, Jiraiya said, as Sasuke just waited for a response. What have I taught you over this month? I've improved my speed and learnt the Rasengan, Sasuke replied, among other things such as fire jutsu and the like. And now you're asking me why? Sasuke nodded in response. The 3rd Hokage was my Jounin sensei. It was a fact Sasuke already knew, though he didn't stop Jiraiya from continuing his story. My teammates were the other legendary Sannin, Tsunade, and Orochimaru. I believe you already met Orochimaru. He was a lot like you, a promising shinobi, had some very powerful jutsu at his disposal, and he was a genius. What happened? His thirst for power drove him over the edge. They called him a genius, brilliant and promising. He experimented on himself and others in search of immortality. When he wasn't selected to become Hokage, he was changed. He was still a genius, but they called him other things: psychotic, insane, and a murderer. I tried to bring him back, but he fled once again in the name of power. Jiraiya said, Sasuke, I'm trying to tell you this. You don't have to sell your soul to become as powerful as you need. I remember someone once telling me that you'd become truly strong when you're protecting your friends. I believe that theory. Do you agree? Yes. For a person weighing such unpractical clothing, Dosu was pretty fast. Though even as quick as Dosu was, he barely was able to keep up with Sasuke. Katan, Hozenka no Jutsu, Fire Release, Phoenix Immortal Fire Technique. Sasuke jumped over Dosu, and in midair the fireballs launched from his mouth and onto the sound nin. Dosu rolled out of the attack and managed to extinguish some of the flames with a sound attack from his arms. Dosu turned around, as Sasuke kicked him in the head, before laying a series of punches on the unsuspecting sound nin. "Is that all?" Sasuke mocked as Dosu got up. "Watch your mouth," Dosu yelled, as he clumsily tried to punch Sasuke, who easily dodged and placed an uppercut in Dosu's stomach. To further propel him in the air, Sasuke kicked him in the jaw and used his chakra to launch himself to the same height as Dosu. "I'm going to tell you, this is going to hurt." Sasuke grinned, as Dosu tried to twist in midair to punch Sasuke, but all he found was another series of punches launching him higher. "That should be high enough to give me the time I need." Sasuke landed gracefully on the ground, as the crowd watched Dosu slowly fall. Chakra swirled in his hand, first slowly but quickly picking up speed before he formed a ball of pure chakra. The crowd couldn't tell what was going on in his hand, as Sasuke positioned himself under Dosu. Kaya Maizen, vibrating sound drill. The jutsu came not from Sasuke, but Dosu, as he fired a sound wave from his arm, directed at Sasuke's ears. Nozakimi no Jutsu. Peeping Tom technique. Using Jiraiya's escape jutsu, Sasuke disappeared from sight and reappeared behind the recently landed Dosu. Rasengan. The ball of chakra grinded itself into Dosu's back, bringing him to the ground and possibly destroying his spine. "You were spineless to begin with." The eruption of applause from the crowd was no match for the fangirl scream that came from Sakura, who yelled loudly for her teammate. "The winner is Uchiha Sasuke," Genma called, impressed at the results of the match. "The past matches have been impressive, Hokage-sama," the Chunin examiners whispered to the Hokage in the stands, as he smiled in reply. "Yes, our genin have been doing well. Any recommendations for Chunin so far?" the Hokage asked, as the Chunin nodded. "We've all agreed on Nara Shikamaru. He outsmarted Temari, and when it looked like he was too lazy to go on, he decided to finish the match and win anyway. Some of us have our doubts on Aburame Shino Kankuro forfeited to him in the second round for unknown reasons. The past tests have shown Shino in good light though." "And Sasuke?" "The match shown was good to watch. He has improved greatly from the last test, and he seems ready to be promoted. What are your opinions on the next round, specifically Uzumaki?" The Hokage smiled, waiting for his answer. The arena was being prepared for the next match, and as Neji waited patiently in the middle, Naruto was nowhere to be found. Neji is a good candidate to become Chunin. Naruto, on the other hand, is not. His past performances have been terrible. The only way for him to possibly become a Chunin is to beat Neji, which seems unlikely. Gaara, on the other hand, is a clear favorite to defeat Ino. The Chunin examiner finished his analysis as another Chunin approached the Hokage. "Hokage-sama, Naruto is late. No one has seen him or his sensei Kakashi," the Chunin announced. "Give him 10 minutes, the Hokage said. "He wouldn't miss this chance, at least I think." Neji was impatient. He gave a stern look to Genma, who ignored him completely. Everyone was wondering what was going on. Why hadn't the number 1 loudmouth ninja arrived yet? Surely he didn't want to miss something as important as this. "Time to kick some ass." The loud voice could be heard all over, as a puff of smoke appeared in the center of the arena. As the smoke cleared, it was revealed to be Uzumaki Naruto, wearing a torn black shirt, with an orange swirl on the back and black pants. Kakashi was standing right behind him, whispering something in his ear. "Remember what I told you about the cursed seal? I've notified the officials as to what to do if you go overboard with it." Naruto nodded, as Kakashi disappeared from behind him. "Sorry for being late, Neji. We were doing some last-minute training." Naruto grinned, as Neji just shook his head in disapproval. "Fate brought you here to be defeated. It's the only way for you to truly realize that I am the better of us," Neji announced, as Naruto pulled a tongue in his direction. So what? Naruto grinned in response, as Neji was left without an answer. Byakugan. His hands clasped together, as veins popped out of his eyes. I'll show you. Destiny can be changed. Naruto assumed fighting stance with the crowd anticipating the fight. And I will become Hokage. Fool, close combat is no use against me. Neji assumed his own stance with his palms facing out. You speak crap. Naruto charged, aiming to punch Neji in the head. Neji dodged and tried to block off a chakra point in his chest. Before his hand could reach Naruto, Naruto's foot covered the distance and kicked in the side. I guess I'll have to be more cautious this time, Neji said as he changed his stance. I'd be careful if I was you. Sure thing, Naruto smiled as he changed stances. Hack Rokujian Sho. Gentle fist 8 trigrams 64 palms. Neji's palms went to strike Naruto's chest, both making contact, until Neji's eyes saw what he had hit. Kawarimi no Jutsu. Naruto smiled, as Neji found crushed rock in his palms. I'd be careful if I was you. 4 hands, Neji called, as 2 palms were blocked by Naruto, but the next 2 caught him off guard. Naruto may have been faster than Neji, but his reflexes weren't as honed as the Byakugan user. I have to get around your eyes, Naruto said. 8 hands, Neji called. Naruto dodged the first 2, and managed to block the next. He whirled around Neji, but the Hyuga was able to turn around in time to catch Naruto with another 4 palms. Not looking good, Naruto thought to himself, as Neji began his 16 palms. Kawarimi no Jutsu, Naruto repeated, as the first of the 16 palms was intercepted by a very sharp object. Neji was only able to stop himself just in time. As a small gash appeared on his hand, he had been marked by Naruto's kunai. Naruto used the 1-second delay in Neji's attack to land a blow in his chest. Recovering quickly, Neji returned to his hack stance. Unsurprisingly, Neji once again began his 16 palms. His eyes led him to become more careful, as Naruto became better at intercepting his moves, but was still unable to land a blow on the Hyuga. The 10th palm in succession was on its way, but Naruto dodged, before quickly doing some seals. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Technique. 5 clones surrounded the area in which they were fighting, but they made no move to attack Neji, instead just standing there. Your signature move. Why aren't they doing anything? Neji asked, stopping his barrage of palms. Why don't you ask fate? Naruto smiled, as he punched Neji in the face. As Neji lost balance, he found a Kage Bunshin pushing him back to Naruto, who followed with another punch in the chest. Left, a Kage Bunshin called, as Naruto blocked a palm from the left of him and elbowed Neji in the face. Stomach, Naruto punched forward, catching Neji before he could strike again. Neji, meet my own Byakugan, the total vision given by my clones. Naruto smiled, as Neji realized that he would have to destroy the Bunshin to win, but he couldn't turn his back on the real Naruto. 32 hands, Neji called. This time 2 clones joined Naruto, and they intercepted the palms, while the real Naruto tried to land as many blows as possible. Neji felt the pressure, as the rest of Naruto's clones began to attack. 3 clones were quickly destroyed by Neji, but Naruto and the 2 other ones were handling him. Neither side was winning, as the clones made up for Naruto's lack of reflexes, allowing it to become an even match. All 3 Narutos went for the final punch, but Neji was too quick for them. Kaiten, Neji said, as he released his chakra, blowing away Naruto and destroying his clones. Perfect, Naruto spat out as he removed something from his pocket. I won, Neji asked, breathing heavily as Naruto's unconscious body laid in front of him. It seems so. Gunma was about to announce the winner, but the clone disappeared, and the real Naruto appeared behind Neji. Kuchios, Doton, Suga no Jutsu, Summoning, Earth Release, Tracking Fong Technique. A scroll was in his hands, and blood from Naruto's mouth was smeared all over it. The 8 Ninken jumped from the ground and trapped Neji, rendering him unable to move. "This is for blocking my chakra." Naruto drew back a punch, and in front of the whole crowd, landed it right into Neji's face. Neji's body collapsed to the ground as the Ninken disappeared, leaving Naruto unscathed, besides the blood coming from his mouth. "Uzumaki Naruto wins," Genma announced to the cheering crowd. Naruto stood over Neji's tired body. "You quickly used a Kage Bunshin. Your main jutsu?" Neji asked, to which Naruto replied with a solemn look on his face. "I should have expected that. I failed the Genin exam 3 times," Naruto said. "The test on the exam was always decided as my weakest ninjutsu, the Bunshin no Jutsu." The surrounding people listened in to what he had to say, as Naruto continued his story. "Destiny can't be changed, what a load of crap. You have no right to say that, you were never a loser like me." The Hokage smiled at the results of the match. "It was good, wasn't it?" he said to a nearby Chunin examiner who nodded. He overcame his weakness, analyzed his opponent well enough to find out how to defeat him. He even made his opponent drop his guard right before he humiliated him. The tactics and the jutsu he used were clearly of a high standard. The Chunin examiner said, as the Hokage nodded in approval. "So, do any of you still have doubts about Naruto?" the Hokage asked, as they shook their heads. "Good." Ino was shivering. She was scared and frightened. She barely managed to defeat the forehead girl, and now she was placed in a match with a monster. "You're afraid," Gaara grinned cruelly. "But don't forfeit. That wouldn't be fun." Sand hovered eerily around Gaara, as Ino withdrew a kunai, in a vain attempt to find something to defend herself with. "Ready?" Genma asked, more serious than usual. He didn't want to have to step in for the girl, and he definitely didn't want to get himself in a fight with Gaara. "May the match begin." The match was tense. Ino was too afraid to move, and Gaara was enjoying her fear while the match lasted. Ino threw the kunai at Gaara who, unsurprisingly, was instantly protected by a sand barrier. She tried to circle around his sand defense and throw more kunai in his direction, to little avail. "You're being too cautious," Gaara said. "You don't want to come close to me at all. I guess I'll have to make you." He laughed, as sand burst from the ground in front of Gaara. Just as it was about to engulf her, she quickly rolled out and tried to rush forward out of the repeating barrages. Gaara was holding back his speed. He was purposely going slowly. He enjoyed watching her run. And then he got bored. The sand lifted itself from the ground and pinned her to the wall of the arena. Ino struggled, but the grip just got tighter and tighter. It took all her willpower, as Ino managed to get her hands together to form a hand seal. Shintenshin no Jutsu, mind-body switch technique. The crowd was shocked that she actually was trying to do something, as her mind traveled through the sand and towards Gaara's mind. Gaara had no idea what was going on when she passed through his armor and into his head, but Ino couldn't handle it much longer. His mind was too mentally damaged to explore, full of pain and bad memories. And then there was something else inside. It wasn't like the inner Sakura she saw before. It looked like a demon. She was trapped and unable to get out of the horrors of the boy's mind. She struggled, trying to force Gaara to give up through his mind. Outside, the crowd couldn't guess what was going on. All they saw was Gaara with a stern look on his face, and Ino's body stuck against the wall by a giant hand made of sand. And then suddenly Gaara laughed. The hand around Ino took her from the wall and raised her to the sky as it tightened her grip. "That's enough, Gaara," Naruto yelled from the crowd, as did the other Rookie 9. "Naruto, you have to do something," Lee, standing next to Naruto, said. "If he could do this to me, who knows what he could do to Ino?" "You're right." Naruto jumped from the stands and into the arena using a kunai to try and slice through the hand of sand. The sand just reformed, so Naruto tried the method of going after Gaara in close combat. "This match is ended. Yamanaka Ino is disqualified for interference on her behalf," Genma announced. "You may let go now, Gaara." Gaara didn't let go, eyeing Naruto as he ran towards him. Shunshin no Jutsu, Naruto said, as he launched himself from the ground and into the air. He threw kunai down into Gaara, whose sand defense simply blocked it. Naruto landed next to Gaara and tried to punch him from the sides, but another shield of sand protected him. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Naruto called, as the clones proceeded to jump around Gaara's defense, trying to find a weak spot in him. Gaara was not used to 10 clones attacking him all at once, so slowly the sand barrier began to weaken. Kunai began slashing harder through the sand and aimed straight for Gaara's chest. Shunshin no Jutsu, Gaara's defense didn't see it coming. Gaara had counted 10 Narutos. Unlike Neji, he did not have the gift of seeing all around him. Thus, he did not see that the real Naruto was preparing himself for an attack from behind Gaara. The Shunshin no Jutsu had launched Naruto faster than Gaara could catch, and gave Naruto the chance to land one punch into the back of his head. His sand armor crackled, as Naruto's clones protected the real Naruto. Enough, Genma called, standing between the two genin. Any more of this, and both of you will be disqualified. Sorry, we were just playing around. Naruto smiled, as his clones disappeared and Gaara's armor fixed itself. The two faced off in a stare-down before the Chunin examiners, accompanying the Hokage, went to the arena. We were going to announce something before our unplanned extra round of fighting, the Hokage said, as Medic Nin carried off Ino's unconscious body. May the winners of this round please step forward. What the hell was that dobe? Sasuke whispered as he appeared behind Naruto. It's called winning, try it sometime. Naruto laughed, as Shino and Shikamaru joined them, both keeping their distance from Gaara. All of you have done exceptional in the past rounds. The Hokage began, as the Chunin examiners nodded in agreement. That is why we, the Chunin examiners and the Kazekage, have decided to deem all 5 of you official Chunin. The 4 Konoha Nin grinned, even Shino, though no one could tell. A blast of smoke came from where Gaara was standing. From that point onwards, all chaos broke loose in Konoha. The invasion had begun. He had no idea what was going on, but he knew when he could fight and when it was best to hide. Dosu didn't like the situation he was in. He had been left by the medic Nins in a recovery room, and he had no idea what building he was in. He knew that the invasion was going to occur, but he had no idea that it would happen so soon. And he certainly wasn't expecting for other sound Nins to break open the wall. Orochimaru requests your presence. The red-haired sound Nin spoke. All Dosu could do was nod, as the fat one lifted him onto his shoulders and took off. The arena was in chaos, as Sound and Sand Nin rushed in, using a genjutsu to make all of the weaker attendants fall asleep. The remaining Jounins were left to fend off the attackers, as the Kazekage and Hokage had disappeared to battle each other. Kai! Naruto, Sasuke, Shikamaru, and Shino called at the same time, undoing the effects of the genjutsu. They looked around and were about to help fight off the invaders, but they were quickly given instructions by Genma, one of the examiners of the exam. He protected the 4 new Chunins before he was confronted with the Sand Jounin and murderer of his friend Baki. You 4 are Chunin now, am I right? Genma asked the 4 boys, who nodded in reply. I trust you to chase down Gaara and his teammates. Now go! The new team took off as they went ahead to catch up to Gaara. As soon as they left, though, more chaos broke loose, as giant snakes came crashing down on buildings, and hundreds of enemy Nins flooded into the village. Sakura, Kakashi called to the awakened Genin, as he defeated more Sound Nin. I need you to wake up Ino and Chuji, and pursue Sasuke and the rest. How will we find them? Sakura asked, as Kakashi did some quick hand seals, and in the midst of smoke, a dog appeared. Use Pakin, he gestured to the small pug dog. He'll guide you to where they are, now go. Kakashi called, as he fended off more invading Nins. Should I summon Pakin? Naruto asked, jumping from branch to branch as they scanned the forest for Gaara. He's a tracker dog. He'll be able to find Gaara. No need to worry, Shino said from underneath his coat. I already attached a female bug to Kankuro during our short-lived match. The male bugs should be able to trace the scent. To the left, Shikamaru called, as the four immediately dodged an attack from the left by a group of sound nin. It is true then, this is a full-scale invasion. The leader of the group of sound nins just laughed in response. You kids should prove a good warm-up before we kill all the other Konoha shinobi. Shikamaru's eyes narrowed. Even he was offended by the comment. Looking at his surroundings, he quietly formed a plan to himself before announcing it to the others. All of you go ahead. I should be able to take care of these guys easily. They're no more than minions, Shikamaru said, changing his stance, before seeing the expression on Naruto's face. No need to worry about me, Naruto. I can defeat them all. Go ahead and defeat Gaara. We'll take out as many of them as possible on our way out. Naruto nodded, as the now group of 3 left Shikamaru, attacking Sound Nin on the way. So I'm left with you guys, Shikamaru sighed. 100 Sand Nins have invaded. Are you worried about the crumbling leaf, sensei? Orochimaru smiled, as he took off his fake Kazekage robe. There are still more of my own Sound Nins coming. Right now, I would worry about yourself. The Hokage assumed battle stance. I will be able to defeat you before the ANBU arrive. You'll have to if you want to live, Orochimaru smiled to himself. The 4 Sound Nins had already arrived in place, with Dosu lying next to Jirubo. Dosu still wasn't able to move, due to Sasuke's destruction of his spine. He eyed Jirubo, who was too busy preparing himself to notice that Dosu was forming a plan, deciding that he would rather die honorably. While exacting his revenge on Orochimaru, Dosu decided his best move would be to injure these sound shinobi that were apparently important to Orochimaru. Ready, Jirubo said, as he prepared the seals for the barrier jutsu, with the ANBU nearing closer. Kayamaizen Daibakuha. Vibrating sound drill, great explosion, Dosu called out, as his arms began to surge with sound. Shit, was the last thing Jirubo said, before a big bang alerted the attention of the village. Giant snake, dead ahead, Naruto yelled, as he dodged the giant snake crashing into the ground in front of him. I hate these things. He removed a kunai from his pocket and leapt from the tree he was on, landing on the back of the giant snake. Shino and Sasuke just looked on at Naruto, who currently was stabbing his way into the snake. I suppose we should help him? Shino asked with uncertainty. No, he'll tire himself out. I already shotgunned Gaara. Sasuke smiled. Naruto easily handled all of the snake's attempts to throw him off, and each time he replied with more stabbing, placing kunais all over the snake's body. When I say go, use your fire jutsu, Sasuke, Naruto yelled, as he prepared to jump off the snake and onto a nearby tree. Go! Katan, Gokakyu no Jutsu. Fire release. Great fireball technique. Sasuke surprisingly found himself complying with the blonde and releasing a giant fireball at the snake, subsequently setting off all the exploding tags Naruto had attached to the kunais, resulting in one giant bang. I love it when things explode. Naruto grinned with thumbs up as Shino adjusted his glasses. Dobe, you owe me a favor, Sasuke yelled out to Naruto, who pulled a tongue. Like what? I get to fight Gaara first, Sasuke said, with his usual I'm better than you look. You'll provide a good warm-up for him before I go in and actually win? Good idea, Naruto smiled back. I didn't mean that, Sasuke yelled, before Shino stopped him. They're close. How troublesome, was all Shikamaru could say, as the shadow bind holding the sound nins retracted. I've reached my limit. This is as far as I can go. Good. Now can you please chop of this boy's head? The sound nin leader asked a hidden ally, but all that appeared behind him was a poof of smoke, and in its place, Sakura, Ino, and Chuji, standing triumphantly on the body of a fallen sound nin. Think we can take them out together? Chuji asked, as he cracked his knuckles. It's worth a shot, a voice behind the group said, as another poof of smoke appeared, and in its place Asuma. We'll take care of them, Ino, Sakura, go ahead. Ino and Sakura nodded, as they followed Pakin off towards the forest. Let's go. I've finally found you. Shino seemed pleasured by the fact that he had caught up with Kankuro. I guess now we can have that fight that we missed out on earlier. You sure you can take him? Naruto asked, to which Shino nodded. Follow your friend's advice. There's no way you can beat me. Kankuro laughed in response, as all Shino did was adjust his posture. But, if you want to die, then go ahead. Before they knew it, Sasuke and Naruto had already taken off, only to be blocked off by another hurdle to jump over, Temari, who was currently holding the body of Gaara. I'll take her. Naruto surprisingly stepped in. I need to warm up before I save you from Gaara. Sasuke just smirked in response, as Temari turned to Gaara to see how he was. Let me go, Gaara muttered, as Temari obediently followed his request, taking a step away from him as he stood upright. Come with me, Sasuke. Gaara grinned, as he moved to another tree branch, further away. Kamaitachi no Jutsu, Temari instantly called out, catching Naruto off guard with a blast of wind from her fan. You're a quick one. Naruto barely managed to dodge the attack, getting his black shirt torn as a result. Another blast of wind forced Naruto to jump back to another tree branch, where he regained his composure. If dodging is all you can do, you should forget about battling my brother, Temari taunted, as Naruto merely pulled a tongue. Even Naruto would admit it was an immature gesture. Shunshin no Jutsu, he called, as he pumped chakra from his feet, pushing him forward and towards Temari, catching her before she had time to use her fan once again. Gotcha! Naruto prepared to punch her before he was stopped by something that plagued his mind. Temari used the delay to push away Naruto and release another gust of wind, blasting Naruto into a nearby tree. I can't fight you, Naruto yelled, as Temari jumped closer to him to get better aim. Scared. No, Naruto yelled in response, as he dodged another blast, jumping from branch to branch. I've never fought a girl before, so I don't know whether I'm allowed to hit one. Sexist, was all that Temari had to say, as she prepared to pursue Naruto in close combat, seeing as he wouldn't be able to fight back. He may not be able to fight in close combat, but I can, Ino yelled, as she arrived with a punch to Temari's face. Behind her was Sakura and Pakin, all watching the two kunoichis commence their fight. Sasuke, on the other hand, didn't like the circumstances he was in. As the battle went on, Gaara became more and more deformed. The sand was forming some sort of armor around him, making him look more and more like a monster. Even though the sand guard had dropped, in his new half-demon form, Gaara was able to extend the sand armor on him to attack Sasuke, and was even able to move faster than he normally did. He threw kunais to distract Gaara, who was intent on just killing Sasuke, and not worrying about the plan that he was implementing. The kunais shot out with a string attached to each of them, and each time Gaara battered one of them away, they either were attached to one of the trees around him, or to the sand armor itself. Gaara had no idea what was going on before it was too late. Katan, Ryuka no Jutsu, Fire Release, Dragon Fire Technique. Sasuke blew fire out of his mouth, and it followed the lines of the string and finally reached Gaara, where the flame had grown and surrounded all of his body. The flames seemed to melt away most of his sand armor, as Gaara was left with sand dripping from his face. But even as this was happening, all Gaara did was laugh, as the sand reformed and the armor regrew itself. Sasuke had already planned ahead. Even if the jutsu hadn't worked, it would give him the time needed to prepare his next jutsu. Flashback. Sasuke, Jiraiya said, as he watched Sasuke try to mold the chakra of the Rasengan into the balloon. I'm sorry for putting this much pressure on you, You have already passed my expectations and completed so much of the Rasengan already. The fourth took 3 years to do it. The fourth also had to create it, and spent the rest of the 3 years trying to make it a more powerful jutsu by adding an element. Sasuke growled in response, as he once again tried to mold the chakra into the balloon. What I have now is an incomplete jutsu, barely enough to rival the fourth's. Even though the jutsu is incomplete, it still is progress. I still have to surpass my brother, Sasuke yelled, as he once again attempted to mold his chakra into the balloon. So far he was only able to hold it for a few seconds, before it released itself, either exploding violently or just disappearing altogether. I thought we had gotten over that, Sasuke. Jiraiya shook his head in confusion. You show signs of nearing completion dash. The third step accounts for half of what it takes to create the Rasengan. You told me that, Sasuke said, interrupting Jiraiya in the process. As I said before, you show signs of nearing completion, as you can temporarily hold the Rasengan for a few seconds. With your speed and the Sharingan, you should only need those few seconds. Jiraiya said, it is ideal for you, even if it is incomplete and even if you did not learn it all in a month. What happens if I can't use it in the few seconds? Most likely, as with the balloon, the chakra will explode on your hand. Your incomplete Rasengan should only be used once in a day, to avoid damage to your arm, even if it is used correctly. And the damage to me will be? Sasuke dared to ask. If it is used incorrectly, and it explodes on your arm, you might never be able to use your arm again, Jiraiya said, as a solemn look appeared of Sasuke's face. End flashback. This is the second time I've used this today, Sasuke said quietly, remembering when he used it on Dosu during the exam. And if this doesn't work, I'm screwed. What are you waiting for? Gaara said, as he pulled himself together. Rasengan, Sasuke called, as the chakra molded into his hand. His Sharingan was fully activated, as he charged at Gaara. In the few seconds left, Gaara had regained the demon-shaped sand armor on his arm and had already extended it to meet Sasuke in mid-air. Sasuke could already feel the chakra coming loose, out of its normal ball shape, as it began to grow more unstable. Pushing forward, his arm met Gaara's, as the ball of chakra exploded, greatly damaging Gaara's armor once again, but inducing a sort of recoil effect on his arm, throwing him back to another tree branch. Fool! Gaara muttered, as the sand burst from his demon-shaped armor. Die! The sand leapt at Sasuke, but before it could reach him, a blonde flash was seen, and an explosion followed, destroying the sand completely. As the smoke died down, Gaara and Sasuke were left to wonder what had happened, and in the area of explosion appeared Naruto, standing there with a shit-eating grin on his face as he yelled out his challenge to Gaara. Now that we're both warmed up, let's begin. Shikaku, Gaara muttered, a grin forming from ear to ear. What? Naruto had heard that word sometime before, but found difficulty in tracing back to where and when he had. It's the name of the demon inside me, Gaara said, as his claw of sand reformed on his arm and shot forward towards Naruto once again. Naruto dodged, landing on the extended claw and running towards Gaara. Naruto's mind was plagued with thoughts about what Gaara meant by Shikaku and the mention of the demon inside. While thinking, he failed to notice the claw retracting from underneath him. He landed on a branch below him, regaining his composure. Are you not afraid? Gaara asked curiously, raising a non-existent eyebrow in the process. Should I be? Naruto asked. Does this Shikaku look scarier than you do right now? He removed shuriken from his holster, throwing them at Gaara, and exploding on his sand claw as it attempted to protect Gaara's body. Naruto used the opportunity to get closer to Gaara, taking out a kunai to slice up the sand armor. His whole strategy was immediately cancelled out when Gaara actually was able to move in his half-demon form and jump away to another tree branch. For such a bulky form, Gaara had increased much more in speed than before. Naruto didn't actually expect Gaara to be able to move in this form, and when he did, Naruto had to rethink all his plans. Tell me, Naruto, why are you fighting me? What do you stand to gain if you win? Gaara asked, as Naruto created two shadow clones next to him. To stop you from causing even more damage, Naruto said, as he used the two clones to intercept a sand attack, enabling him to get closer and stab Gaara right through the sand armor with a chakra-enforced kunai. Obviously, it will take more than this to stop you though. Rather than blood, sand poured out onto his hand, as he was quickly knocked away into another tree by Gaara's sand claw. Do you really expect to win? Gaara laughed, extending his sand claw to once again hit Naruto before he reached the tree branch, and repeating the move once more to grip him with the claw. Naruto found himself unable to move, as he squirmed within the tight grasp of the sand. You're confused as hell, Gaara. Naruto smiled as his mind games continued, causing Gaara's confidence to falter. You think you're in control and that you have the power. You try to give your life meaning by taking others. But no matter what you do, you'll still feel lonely. When your so-called life purpose is fulfilled, you'll be where you were at the beginning, all alone and by yourself. Gaara's non-demon hand clutched his head in confusion, and Naruto found the sand grip loosening, but not letting go completely. You're wrong, Gaara yelled out loudly, as he further clutched his head in anguish. Naruto's hands managed to squeeze itself together in the tight space of Gaara's claw, and Naruto formed a familiar, cross-shaped hand seal. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Naruto called, bursting out of the sand grip and surrounding himself with 10 Narutos. Your purpose is to kill? My purpose right now is to wake you up from that hallucination. Naruto's Kage Bunshin threw themselves at Gaara, and Naruto used their bodies to jump on, each one disappearing when he stepped on them. Using the bridge created by the clones, he got closer to Gaara, putting his plan in action. Gaara reacted as expected. His sand claw predictably extended itself to destroy the clones, as Naruto and 2 remaining clones jumped towards Gaara, and when within range shouted, Bunshin Daibakuha. What? Gaara didn't know how to react, as he was sure that his sand armor would protect him. But the 3 Narutos exploded on him, his confidence reaching an all-time low, as most of his armor was destroyed, and he plummeted to the ground, sand crumbling underneath him. The real Naruto, however, was already placed right under Gaara's landing spot, preparing himself to give Gaara a wake-up call. Shunshin no Jutsu. With amazing speed, Naruto looked like he teleported off the ground to where Gaara was in midair, and kicked him square in the chest into another tree branch and onto the ground. That was from Lee, Naruto said before coughing out blood himself. Damn it, this can't be my limit. Since Naruto was still new to the chakra control, the speed of his new attacks, and the repetitive use of the shadow clones and exploding shadow clones, Naruto's body was still adjusting itself as he was still relying on only his own chakra. Naruto. Naruto's head turned sharply to see Ino calling his name, along with Sakura standing next to her. Are you all right? Naruto was happy to see them, but his moment was quickly ended when he turned his head once more. So that is as far as you can go. Naruto was shocked to see Gaara stand up, a mixture of sand and blood dripping from his body. Let's see if you can take any more. Gaara laughed, as sand collected around his arm, shooting out towards Ino and Sakura. Ino. Not so long ago. I am not fighting alongside you, Ino pig, Sakura shouted loudly, as Temari just shook her head, as if she was embarrassed for the two of them. Last time we had a chat, you left me unconscious on the Chunin exam building floor. Do you think I want to fight alongside you? We don't have a choice. Ino yelled at Sakura. I don't want to have to protect you, or watch you ogle over your precious Sasuke-kun. Oh, and you don't? The words had struck Ino hard. She hated those times, when for some reason or another, she would have willingly given herself away for the Uchiha heir. It was only after her many attempts had she grown to see that her time shouldn't be spent with someone who didn't share a mutual feeling with her, and didn't even show any sort of interest in the opposite sex. It had only been then when she realized that her time was better spent with her team and friends, and her recently acquired friend, Uzumaki Naruto. Let's just get on with this. Ino muttered angrily as she took out her kunai and prepared to fight the sand kunoichi. Well spoken. Temari smiled, pleased that they were getting some progress from the two Konoha genins. Kamaitachi no Jutsu. Pakin decided it would be a good time to leave, as he vanished in smoke, leaving Sakura and Ino to dodge the oncoming wind attack. Great help he was, Ino muttered under her breath, as she landed gracefully onto a tree branch. Quickly, she threw multiple kunai at Temari, who easily blew it away with her fan. Now, she yelled, as Sakura threw her own kunai at Temari while she was distracted. Temari turned around just in time to block the basic strategy, and was forced to turn around once again to block a punch from Ino, who had tried to sneak up behind her. You really think I'm that stupid? Temari smiled, as she punched Ino square in the chest, which disappeared in smoke, revealing itself to be a log of wood. Yes, I do. Ino smiled, as she tried to punch Temari in the chest again, but Temari easily dodged, giving Ino an opening. Ino smiled. When Temari dodged, she distanced herself from the fan. Ino dived for the fan and tossed it towards Sakura, who caught it in midair. That was a strategy Shikamaru taught me. Temari just growled in response, as Ino jumped away to another branch. Ino, I can't do it, Sakura said, as Ino joined her on the same branch. I can't figure out how to open this, Sakura said, as she waved the closed fan around with no results. Give me that, Ino yelled, grabbing the fan of Sakura, only to find out that she also wasn't able to open the fan. We'll see who the smart one now is, Temari said, as she caught up with Ino and punched her in the chest. Sakura tried to react as quick as possible, but Temari intercepted her kick and grabbed her foot in response. Ino recovered from the punch, and while Temari was distracted with Sakura's feet, she punched Temari back in the chest. For no apparent reason, Sakura kicked Temari in the chest and proceeded to punch Temari. Like her brothers, Temari only trained in one area. For her fan. This resulted in the fact that while she was able to dodge effectively, her taijutsu was average. Now Ino, Sakura yelled, as she trapped Temari in a full Nelson. Ino nodded, as she took aim on Temari. Shintenshin no Jutsu. Ino easily overcame Temari's mind and controlled her body into knocking itself out, before quickly returning to her own and looking for Naruto and Sasuke. Kuchios, Edo Tensei, summoning, impure world resurrection. Orochimaru smiled, as the bodies of Zaku and Kin began to dissolve into dust. His hand seals moved at a fast pace. He had almost reached the end of it, but unlucky for him, that was when the explosion sounded. It shook the building they were standing on like a miniature earthquake, causing Orochimaru to falter, and thus making his jutsu useless, as Zaku and Kin's body had already been destroyed, but no one had been summoned yet. Your time is up, Sandaime yelled, as he charged at Orochimaru with a kunai, preparing to engage the snake Sannin in close combat. Lucky for Orochimaru, he was quick enough to dodge the old man's attacks, but failed to gain the upper hand in the taijutsu confrontation. As he tried to punch the Hokage, his attack was blocked, and Sandaime used the opening to try and stab Orochimaru. How long do you plan to delay me? Orochimaru smiled. The barrier has already been set. Sadly for Orochimaru, he failed to notice that his perfectly orchestrated plan had failed. The murdered bodies of the Sound Four surrounded the roof where the battle was taking place, as the ANBU stood triumphantly over their opponents. That boy sacrificed himself. If he hadn't, the Hokage would be in immediate danger, the ANBU captain said, as he stood over what was left of Dosu's body. His sacrifice will not be in vain. We shall aid the Hokage. The remaining team of ANBU quickly reached the Hokage, at the same time surrounding Orochimaru. The barrier has been set? Sandaime smiled, as his own ANBU team surrounded Orochimaru. Checkmate, my student. For a second Orochimaru looked defeated, and then he lashed out at the surrounding ANBU. He summoned Kusanagi in lightning speed, twirling the sword around to slice open one ANBU, while attacking the rest. The 5 remaining ANBU handled Orochimaru well, using their katanas to block all of Orochimaru's strikes, the high-speed battle commencing. Their katanas weren't able to land a hit on the Sannin, but then again neither was his Kusanagi. Orochimaru desperately became more suicidal, allowing one ANBU to slash him across the chest, at the same time allowing Orochimaru to stab him. Reacting quickly and violently, another ANBU managed to break his own katana on the Kusanagi, forcing it out of Orochimaru's hands, with the shards of the sword catching Orochimaru off guard, and parts of it slashing Orochimaru's face. The distraction was enough for 2 of the ANBU to furthermore keep Orochimaru busy, while the 3rd remaining ANBU jumped back, and surprisingly took off his mask and revealed himself to Orochimaru. "You may not remember me," the ANBU said, as the 2 other ANBUs grabbed Orochimaru's arms and trapped him within their grasp. "But my name is Tenzo, and I used to be one of your test subjects." "You survived," Orochimaru grinned, as his neck extended and attempted to attack Tenzo. "Luckily for me, your experimentation also allowed me to do this." Mokutan, Moku Johiki, would release, with locking wall. A dome of wood came out of the ground, and before Orochimaru was able to reach Tenzo, it trapped him inside. "I'm sorry it had to end this way," Sandaime said to the dome, before turning to Tenzo. "Take him away." "Ino," Naruto screamed, as she was trapped in the grasp of the sand claw. "Sakura, quickly go and help Sasuke," Naruto shouted, as Sakura nodded and went to aid her teammate. "And where do we go from here?" "Naruto," Gaara smiled, as the sand built up, making him grow larger and larger, until he was the exact copy of the demon inside of him, Shikaku. Naruto looked up at the large demon, as he began to see sand surrounding him as well, preparing him for the desert coffin. "Shit," Naruto said, as he tried to form a hand seal, but was low on chakra. The sand surrounded him completely, and he was left with one choice. Pulling down his shirt so he could see the cursed seal on his neck, he focused on his need and will to have more power, and the cursed seal responded by spinning violently. He winced in pain as the cursed seal broke past the barrier, and formed a black, tattoo-like pattern down his arm and half of his body. As he demanded more chakra, the black tattoos that moved around his body began glowing red. "Boy!" The voice of the Kyuubi echoed inside of his head, as the mix of his own chakra, his cursed chakra, and the Kyuubi's chakra manifested in his body. "What are you planning to do?" "Defeat that demon." A swirl of red chakra formed around him and grew more violent. "I need more," he yelled. As more chakra flowed through his body, more pain was put on him, causing the chakra to burst around him, relinquishing the barrier of sand. "He escaped with just chakra?" Gaara said, as he looked down at Naruto from his spot on top of Shikaku's giant body. "You plan to beat that?" The Kyuubi laughed inside of him, as Naruto just shrugged off the thought. Cracking his knuckles, he prepared for his battle. "Shunshin no Jutsu," Naruto called, as the swirl of red chakra surrounding him pulsed downwards, rocketing his body towards Gaara. "Bunshin Daibakuha," Naruto called, as 2 bunshins appeared on Shikaku and exploded, causing little harm to the giant mass of sand. Naruto landed on Shikaku's body, dodging the sand that tried to capture him. "Kage Bunshin no Jutsu." The clones protected Naruto, taking all the attacks from the sand for him. As Naruto neared Gaara's body, a large mass of sand hurled itself at Naruto, throwing him off Shikaku's body. "I guess I'll try a different approach," Naruto said, as he landed gracefully on a tree. "If you want to die, all you have to do is ask." Gaara smiled, as he activated hand seals himself, before shouting his jutsu. "Tanuki Nairi no Jutsu." Tanuki sleep technique. "What the?" Naruto breathed, as Gaara fell unconscious, and the body of the Tanuki began moving on its own. "I'm free." The Shikaku laughed loudly, as it looked all around himself. Who am I supposed to kill? He jumped up and down excitedly, an unexpected reaction that Naruto expected. I would at least have more restraint if I was set free, the Kyuubi commented from inside Naruto's mind. Very subtle Kyuubi, Naruto said, at the Kyuubi's suggestiveness. I was brought out to kill this boy? The Shikaku laid its eyes on Naruto, whose body now contained the tattoos of the cursed seal all over it. I'll make it nice and quick. Futon. Rankuden. Wind release. Drilling air bullet. Naruto didn't know what to expect, as the Shikaku breathed in deeply and released a large mass of air towards Naruto. Shunshin no Jutsu. Naruto pulsed as much chakra as he could downwards, hoping to escape the large blast of air. But it proved not enough as he was caught in the current and thrown back, along with the other destroyed trees. Wiping the blood trickling from his mouth, he stood up and prepared for his next attempt at an attack. Do you even have a plan? The Kyuubi asked, as Naruto gritted his teeth together and formed a hand seal. Sort of. His mind drifted back to all the basic techniques he had taught him, trying to find one that would prove useful. He thought quickly, remembering as far back to the survival test with Kakashi, and he quickly formed a plan. Futon. Rankuden. Shikaku called again, but Naruto had already disappeared. Gotcha. Doton. Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu. Earth release. Inner decapitation technique. The short-range move allowed Kakashi to previously trap Sasuke underground during the survival test, though Naruto didn't have the strength to pull down the whole of Shikaku, instead using the jutsu to appear underneath Shikaku, underneath his most vulnerable area, his tail. I need more chakra, Naruto growled, as the cursed seal pulled more chakra from the Kyuubi and himself, causing Naruto more pain, but at the same time, granting him more power. Taju Bunshin Daibakuha. Multiple clone great explosion. Naruto yelled out, before escaping down the hole he had previously dug. In his place, 100 clones had thrown themselves onto Shikaku's tail, all exploding simultaneously. The Shikaku had no chance to react, falling forward and landing on its face. All I have to do now is get close to Gaara. Naruto got up and climbed onto Shikaku's body, intent on waking up Gaara before Shikaku got up. Shunshin no Jutsu. Shikaku's body rumbled beneath him, as Naruto threw himself towards Shikaku's head, where Gaara's body lay. Getting closer, he could feel Shikaku starting to get up, but it would already be too late to try and throw off Naruto. Pulling back a fist, he lunged at Gaara, punching him in the face and waking him up. I'm awake, were the first words that Gaara said, as he turned around to see Shikaku's tail had been blown off, and Naruto was standing triumphantly in front of him. Gaara turned back to Naruto and formed a hand seal, as sand from Shikaku's head blasted at Naruto, throwing him back. Sabaku Q. Desert coffin. The sand began to build up around Naruto, who slowly found himself in increasing pain. The amount of strain the cursed seal put on him was too much, and he had already reached his limit. This is as far as I got, on my own, Naruto said before correcting his last comment. No, I haven't been doing this on my own. I've been using this cursed chakra. I was lying when I said I reached my limit before. I was too tempted by power that I abandoned myself for this, Naruto said, as the cursed seal began to retreat. I can do this all on my own. The cursed seal retreated back to its resting place on his neck, and the seal Kakashi had placed reinforced itself. Blue chakra replaced the red one previously and formed around Naruto, who knew he could break out as he had done previously. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto used his signature move as he burst out of the desert coffin, and the 10 clones shielded Naruto from oncoming sand attacks. Naruto had no chakra left for a Shunshin, as he had used most of it with the past jutsus. He was only a meter away from Gaara when he jumped in mid-air, but was trapped by Gaara's sand, which had wrapped itself around Naruto's arms. The one clone who had survived the sand attacks ran, instead of helping Naruto. The clone dived off Shikaku's body, as Naruto grinned at Gaara. Boom! Gaara's eyes widened, as Naruto exploded on him. revealing himself not to be the real Naruto, but another exploding clone. Gaara was low on chakra as well, so the barrier of sand and his armor were barely enough to protect him from the blast, resulting in a mass of blood surrounding his body. The real Naruto, who had survived the blast now, stood triumphantly, watching the falling Gaara with a grin on his face. He limped over to Gaara's body, himself exhausted. Standing over the fallen Sand Shinobi, he had to make sure he was defeated. "Why are you so strong?" Gaara managed to say. "I know what it's like," Naruto began, as Gaara was forced to listen to Naruto's story. "To be hated by everyone as you were growing up, to be alone. I was the same as you before, though a bit less murderous." Naruto chuckled, as he coughed out more blood, before resuming his speech. "Knowing what it feels like, I'm not going to allow anyone to take away those people who saved me from my hell, even if it meant killing you. Someone once told me that I'd be truly strong when I protected by precious people. I understand what he meant." Sasuke dropped down next to Naruto, along with Sakura, who was holding Ino's body. "She's all right, Naruto. You won," Sasuke admitted, as his teammates congratulated him on his win. Both battered and bruised, Temari and Kankuro appeared next to Gaara, lifting him to his feet, putting his arms around their shoulders. "Temari, Kankuro," Gaara whispered. "I'm sorry." The comment confused Kankuro and Temari, who simply nodded. "Thank you, Naruto." The sand trio disappeared, as Team 7 with Ino was left to themselves. "You actually did it, Naruto," Sakura said, as Naruto turned to her and nodded. With one last look at Ino, Naruto collapsed into exhaustion, getting a well-deserved rest. "So have they milked all they could out of you yet?" Jiraiya asked, sitting on a stool in front of a maximum security jail cell. "I'm taking some secrets with me to the grave." Orochimaru laughed, trapped in his straitjacket and bound to the chair he was sitting on with chains and jutsus. "Is that why they sent you in? Just to see if you could get more out of me?" "It's the only reason Konoha is keeping you alive," Jiraiya admitted, as he looked into the eyes of his old teammate. "So, do you have anything to say to me?" "I'll tell you something," Orochimaru smiled. "For my own pleasure. Recent information has come to me, and I haven't told anyone this yet." Jiraiya leaned in closer to the jail cell, as Orochimaru happily admitted his secret. "The reason I rushed my invasions was because of this one fact: the Akatsuki are coming. I couldn't have them interrupting my plans." Orochimaru laughed loudly, as Jiraiya had a worried look on his face. "They're after the Kyuubi, aren't they?" Jiraiya said. "They've almost completed capturing all the demons, haven't they?" "Of course they're after the Kyuubi. I wonder how you got your hands on the information about their plans," Orochimaru said to himself. Jiraiya was always a resourceful one, able to get information from a variety of anonymous sources that no one would even think he had. "My information? I have spies everywhere, Orochimaru," Jiraiya said. "That's how I knew you were coming to Konoha, and that's why I'm here now." "Care to tell me who that spy was, old friend?" Orochimaru asked, as Jiraiya began to get off his stool. "Just let your old teammate know. We stopped being friends the moment you left Konoha," Jiraiya said bitterly, as he walked away from the jail cell. "Die quickly, Orochimaru," Jiraiya said, before turning to a hidden figure. "Kabuto, let's go." The silver-haired spy joined Jiraiya, before taking one last look at Orochimaru. "The fool actually outsmarted me," Orochimaru muttered under his breath, as he came to terms with the fact that his subordinate was spying on him the whole time. "Goodbye, Jiraiya. As a village, we have suffered, and in a short time we were forced to mature." The gathering of Konoha Jounin, Anbu and Chunin listened to what their Hokage had to say. Among the crowd were the newly promoted Chunins, Sasuke, Shino, Shikamaru, and Naruto. But as I expected, our village stayed strong, some of our fellow shinobi protecting our village to the very end. Each face in the crowd held a solemn look when addressing their fallen comrades. all whose names were being etched on the stone that stood in the Konoha Memorial. In respect for the fallen, each shinobi had dressed in black, the ANBU even removing their masks. We have fought and prevailed, and as tired, battered, or bruised we are, we still stand strong. The village of Konoha is proud to be protected by powerful shinobi, such as yourselves. I am afraid I am not as strong as I used to be, the Hokage said, as he began finishing his speech. Which is why I am going to retire as Hokage, once again, as soon as a new Hokage is announced. Until then, we shall keep doing the great work we have done up until now, and we shall all persevere as a village. That is all. The Hokage stepped down from the stage and was followed by a group of now-masked ANBU, leaving a shocked crowd of shinobi. After the speech, Sasuke had limped his way back to the hospital, where he was forced to stay and rest until someone came back for him. Jiraiya had left with Kabuto, a shinobi that confused Sasuke too much to think about. When they first met, Kabuto was a genin, and then it was revealed he was really a Jounin-level Metachnine imposter who worked for Orochimaru, and now he was seen with Jiraiya, something that Sasuke didn't understand. Jiraiya? Where is Jiraiya? A Jounin burst into the hospital, into the room where Sasuke and other injured shinobi were staying. He already left, a Metachnine calmly said, as the Jounin just shook his head in response. Why, what is the problem? Tell Jiraiya, the Jounin said anxiously. The Akatsuki are here. The traitor Uchiha Itachi is back, there at the north gate. Sasuke burst from his bed, gaining the attention of everyone in the room. His limp seemingly disappeared as he rushed out of the room and straight out of the hospital, heading towards the north gate. Where are we going, Kakashi? Naruto asked as they walked out of Konoha. It wasn't the fact that he had been dragged out of hospital that bothered him, since he recovered quickly. It was the fact that Kakashi wasn't telling him why they were leaving Konoha so suddenly. There are people in this world, Kakashi began, as they walked out of the south gate of Konoha, who are sometimes more powerful and terrifying than a Kage. And when those people get together, it only means bad things can happen. What? Was all Naruto could say, as he was confused with Kakashi's story. The Akatsuki, Naruto, is a group of those people who are after the 9 demons, Kakashi said, looking over to Naruto. That's you. A friend told me that they were coming, and so we're leaving as soon as possible. Well said. A figure dropped in front of them. He was tall and built. He had blue skin and blue hair, with gills and shark-like teeth, clad in a black robe with red clouds. You aren't the only ones with spies. I bet you thought you were smart by escaping through the back door. But I'm here to collect my prize. Who are you? Kakashi asked. Hashigaki Kisame. Good, because I have to know what to name your dead body, Kakashi said, as Kisame charged at him with his large, bandaged sword. Kakashi barely had time to react, as he pulled out his kunai and blocked. His kunai easily broke under pressure, and Kakashi was forced to jump back. I take it this is the demon brat? Kisame smiled, as he swung his sword in Naruto's direction. Kakashi quickly intercepted the attack by grabbing the sword in midair, but the sword pulled itself back to Kisame. Samahata doesn't like other owners. Kakashi lifted up his headband in response, revealing his Sharingan eye. My partner also has a body part like that. In the seriousness of the situation, for some reason Naruto couldn't help but laugh at the comment. Sorry, please continue. Naruto giggled like a schoolgirl, as Kakashi and Kisame shrugged, before turning back to each other. Suetun, Bakusui Shoha, water release, exploding water shockwave, Kisame called, as he spat a large amount of water from his mouth. The water surged towards Kakashi, who, with Naruto, dodged the attack, jumping away. The pool of water Kisame had created covered such a large area that Naruto and Kakashi both landed on top of the water, standing on it with their chakra. It was only after the jutsu had been used that Kakashi realized its purpose, not to attack, but to create a pool of water for Kisame to use. Suetun, Gashaukazaim, water release. 5 eating sharks. 5 sharks made of water jumped from the pool they were standing on and went to attack Kakashi and Naruto. Suetun. Suijin Hiki. Water release. Water encampment wall, Kakashi said, using the water to his own advantage and surrounding himself and Naruto in a barrier of water, protecting himself. The sharks and barrier returned to water as Kakashi and Naruto stared at Kisame. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Naruto called as he and 5 other clones charged at Kisame. Stop, Naruto, Kakashi called, but he was too late. The 5 clones were easily destroyed by Kisame's sword, and Naruto barely managed to dodge the second attack from the sword. Bunshin Daibakuha, Naruto called, as a clone of himself went to explode on Kisame. Kisame was too quick, using his sword to suck all the chakra out of the clone, thus rendering it useless, and it disappeared. Kisame turned his sword on Naruto and was about to suck away his chakra, but Kakashi interrupted. Suetun, Gashaukazaim. Kakashi copied Kisame's earlier jutsu, as 5 sharks jumped out of the water beneath Kisame and attacked him. Kisame destroyed the sharks, giving Naruto time to get away. Suetun, Suikoden no Jutsu. Water release. Water shark missile technique. Kisame and Kakashi both called out at the same time, as 2 large sharks formed out of water charged into each other, smashing each other back to water in the process. I'll get you with taijutsu, Kisame said, as he charged at Kakashi. A kunai flew straight at Kisame, who quickly dodged, right before being kicked in the head. Dynamic entry, a voice yelled, as a green blur kicked Kisame in the head, knocking him down. Konoha's noble green beast has arrived, the voice of Madogai called, leaving a shocked audience of Naruto, Kakashi, and Kisame. Damn it, as much as I'd like to kill you all, I can't, Kisame growled. It seems that at his state now, it would be easy to capture the 9-tailed fox whenever we want. After all, this battle was just a test to see how much the demon has grown, seemingly not much at all. Before they could catch him, Kisame had disappeared, leaving a very confused Kakashi and Naruto, and a grinning guy. No can do, Jiraiya said to the Hokage, with Kabuto at his side. You're actually denying it? Sandaime had an amazed look on his face. After all these years, you're denying a direct request to become Hokage? I'm sorry, but being Hokage would restrict me from wandering around and writing my books, Jiraiya said, among other things. You'll find time, the Hokage replied, as he tried to persuade Jiraiya. I remember when I first trained you, you wanted to be Hokage. All 3 of us did, Jiraiya said, but we all became more realistic with life. Sorry, Sensei. Is there anything I can do to make you reconsider? The Hokage asked. Not that I know of, Jiraiya replied. Thanks for the offer. No, Sandaime said while filling out some paperwork in his office. Paperwork had to be done, but like all Hokages before him, he hated it. Even more so, he disliked the fact that he had to reject so many requests in one day, the most recent being Kakashi, who was currently standing in front of him. Naruto, on the other hand, was forced to sit on the other side of the room, still dressed in his simple black shirt and orange pants. What? Naruto yelled across the room in response. Please, Hokage-sama, Naruto needs to train, Kakashi asked, as the Hokage shook his head. If you let us go for at least a week, I'm sure I'll be able to make Naruto more able to protect himself in the future. No, the Hokage repeated. He could understand Naruto's need to train, seeing as he was currently targeted by the Akatsuki, though he couldn't have him running out of the country and possibly into their hands. You can always train inside the village. It's not that bad of a place. Hokage-sama, the loud voice came from the door, as Guy burst into the room. Lee needs dash. No, the Hokage sighed again, as he continued his forms. This is the 3rd time you're asking me. But no, I can't let all my shinobis run around outside village borders, while I'm still finding a way to persuade Jiraiya to become Hokage. But his leg. He needs the medical attention that no one here can give, Guy said. Not that I am insulting Konoha's medical shinobi. I can sympathize with you, Guy, but… And then an idea came to the Hokage's head, simple, and able to fix all of his problems at once. Guy, what are Niji and Tenten doing at this moment? Niji? Training as always. Tenten is also training with her family. Guy replied. And Kakashi, what about Sakura and Sasuke? The Hokage asked. Sasuke is back in hospital after his encounter with his brother, Kakashi said. And for Sakura, I convinced Kabuto to train her in medic jutsu. Why? C-rank mission. For the three of you, the Hokage said, gesturing to Naruto, Kakashi and Guy. Solve all our problems. Find Tsunade, the other Sannin. What about Lee? Can he come? Guy asked excitedly, as the Hokage thought about it. Lee is injured. He is not able to come on any missions. The Hokage replied, as Guy quietly nodded in response. Kakashi, this mission should give you time to train Naruto, while Guy can find Tsunade for medical assistance. Understood. Yash, Guy called out in anticipation of the mission. And Naruto, the Hokage said, gaining the boy's attention. Don't forget to wear your vest, you're a Chunin now. As requested Naruto, I shall train you to become 10,000 times as strong. Guy yelled loudly, literally dancing circles around Naruto and Kakashi as they made their way out of the village. He was overexcited with the prospect of healing his prize student and gaining another one as well. Really? Naruto asked, now wearing the standard green vest and with his mouth wide open. Can we start now? Can we, Kakashi? Whatever, Kakashi sighed, as Guy removed from his backpack a pile of weights. Guy, don't you think that's a little much? We don't want to break Naruto's bones on the way there. These will help you become as fast as Lee in no time, Guy proclaimed, ignoring Kakashi's comments. Kakashi, though, was proved right, as Naruto wasn't even able to hold up the weights in his arms, crushing him in the process. No, Naruto, stand up. Feel the burning passion, Guy said, as he tied the weights to Naruto. Overdoing it, Kakashi said. It still amazes me that you can carry all those weights in your backpack. They're only 10-kilo weights, Guy said, strapping weights to Naruto's wrists, ankles and body. I'm holding you responsible if you kill my student, Kakashi said, as Naruto tried his best to keep up with Guy and Kakashi. He was practically dragging his feet towards the two, groaning loudly in the process. Don't worry, Naruto. At this rate, it will only take 2 days to reach Tsunade at the Land of Waves, Guy said. 2 days, Naruto groaned back. We can always visit the Great Naruto Bridge, Kakashi teased, as Naruto just cursed under his breath. Where are we? Naruto collapsed on the ground. Though he had gradually become more accustomed to wearing the weights, it still tired him out nonetheless. See that over there? Kakashi pointed to the bridge not so far away. That's the Great Naruto Bridge. I just thought it would be good if we stopped off here for a while. Kakashi began walking up a hill, as Naruto and Guy followed. Where are we going? Guy asked as Naruto answered his question for him. Our first major mission involved the defeat of 2 missing Nins. Their graves are just ahead, Naruto said, his mind focusing on getting to the graves of Haku and Zabuza, rather than the stress the weights were putting on him. Kakashi reached there first, but froze as soon as he got there. Climbing the hill faster to see what was wrong, Naruto and Guy joined him. What is it? Guy asked. The sword, Naruto gasped. It's gone. Kakashi shook his head in disgust as he began to descend from the hill, with Naruto and Guy following. Grave robbers, Kakashi replied, with a rather bitter tone to his voice. It's an insult, Naruto added. He found that focusing his mind on something other than the weights made it easier for him to carry them, so currently it was just plain anger. An insult to their memory. I'm gonna find who took that sword and beat them to a bloody mess. Naruto, Kakashi said, trying to calm down his student, as Naruto was known to get the most emotionally attached. I'm serious, sensei. I want to find who took the sword and take it back. Naruto replied. I agree with the flame of youth. Guy replied, referring to Naruto. I now feel obliged to help, right after we find Tsunade. Before we enter the land of waves, I'm going to let you know what's going on, Kakashi said, as he turned to the two of them. The land of waves is famous for two things. Firstly, their construction industry, as we can see near us. And secondly, the casinos, which is why with no doubt Tsunade is here. Then let's go, Naruto yelled, but surprisingly, Guy stopped him. Naruto, going headfirst into a mission without having a plan is dangerous, even for the fire of youth. Guy whispered, as Naruto nodded, slowly taking in Guy's way of ninja, as ridiculous as it sounded. So, the plan is to split up and search all the gambling sites. Got it? Kakashi said. But aren't I a little too young? Naruto asked. You're a Chunin. Say you're on a mission and they should let you in. Kakashi replied. I've got these two tracking devices. When one of us finds Tsunade, activate it immediately, and it will notify us of your position. Let's go, Naruto called as the three left. No, Tsunade said. You don't say no to me, Naruto sneered at Tsunade. I've been rejected too many times in the past couple of days. Quiet, or I'll call security on you, Tsunade replied, as she went back to the slot machine. Of course, as always, she lost, living up to her reputation as the legendary sucker. Look, lady. Right now I have more problems than just security, Naruto yelled. I have to drag you back to Konoha. I have to kick the ass of whoever stole Zabuza's sword, and I have to deal with these weights which are killing my body. Really? Tsunade smiled in response. Yes, really, Naruto replied, more insistent. Why? She asked as Naruto grew more frustrated. Because, Naruto yelled, as if pointing out the obvious. To lead to my ultimate goal. Of what? Tsunade asked, deciding to humor Naruto for the time being. Becoming Hokage, Naruto replied. A flood of memories rushed back to Tsunade, of Dan and Nawaki, their dreams and ideals of becoming Hokage, and their determination. Her hand drifted to her neck, where she touched her cursed necklace. She wondered how those two words had suddenly reminded her of Dan and Nawaki. Let's make a bet, Tsunade said. Even I know about your reputation, Tsunade, so I might as well agree now, Naruto replied in a matter-of-fact tone, much to the annoyance of Tsunade. The bet I was about to say was to find the sword, Tsunade replied sternly, and in turn I will give you this necklace, and come back with you to Konoha. Easy enough, Naruto smiled. But why would I want the necklace? This necklace belonged to my grandfather, the first Hokage, Tsunade said, knowing she had Naruto hooked, though you only have 2 days. I must be lost, Guy said to himself. He had found himself on the outskirts of the land of waves, and unknown to him, had stumbled on to Sound territory. Venturing further into the new land, he began calling out. Tsunade, he asked, as he walked through the forest. Well, well, well? A voice called out as a young teenager, looking only a little older than Lee himself, appeared, wearing only a pair of black pants, and wielding a giant sword. The boy had shark-like teeth and blue hair. Looks like we have a lost Konoha nin. Care to help me find my way back? Guy said in response as he adjusted his stance. Friend, Guy replied, knowing that this was all going to end in a fight. The name is Suigetsu, the boy said, as he held the sword in front of him. And sure, we would love to help. Standing behind Suigetsu appeared a gang of missing nin, all bloodthirsty and wanting to fight. Finally, after being kept so long in that snake bastard's prison, we're finally let out to do some damage. This should be fun, Guy said, as he activated his tracking device, calling Kakashi and Naruto. Suetun, Suijin Hiki, water release, water encampment wall. A voice next to Guy called, as a barrier of water appeared, protecting Guy from the blast of mud. As expected of my rival to show up, Guy smiled, as Kakashi appeared next to him. And I came here because I thought you found Tsunade, Kakashi sighed, before asking, where's Naruto? As soon as Naruto's transmitter went off, he was confused. He had already found Tsunade, so he wondered why he was needed. I have to go, he said meekly to Tsunade, right before realizing that the weights were still on him, and he still had to drag himself towards wherever Kakashi or Guy was. Walking slowly, now that he had become more accustomed to the weights, he made his way out of the casino one slow step at a time. Shizune, Tsunade whispered, as her subordinate appeared next to her. Let's follow him. I want to see if he finds the sword. Yes, Tsunade-sama. So you were the one that killed Zabuza? Suigetsu asked, as he approached Kakashi, who was currently fighting more escaped experiments. And you would be? Kakashi asked, as he ducked an attack and stabbed above with his kunai. Suigetsu, he introduced himself yet again. I trained with the Mist Swordsman when I was younger, so I know how to use this. He grabbed the hilt of Zabuza's sword, as he prepared to behead Kakashi. That sword, Kakashi said, as he quickly blocked the large blade with his kunai. His kunai barely held, breaking it in half and forcing Kakashi to jump back several meters. Zabuza was killed by you? Suigetsu mocked the copy ninja, as he once again tried to slash Kakashi with Zabuza's sword. Kakashi dodged the attack and tried to kick Suigetsu in the chest, but as he did, he only kicked liquid. My body is interesting, don't you think? Suigetsu smiled, as his body turned from liquid to solid. A result of Orochimaru's experimentation, I'm guessing. Kakashi muttered as he went to strike Suigetsu. As expected, he hit liquid. Realizing that it was a Mizu Bunshin, he turned around to stab, but all he saw was Suigetsu, seemingly dragged underground with only his head above ground level. Doton, Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu, Earth Release, Inner Decapitation Technique. Suigetsu was stuck with Zabuza's sword underground, as Naruto stood triumphantly in front of him. You have no idea how long it took to get here and dig a hole under you. Naruto, clearly tired, took a second to take a break, but by the time he was done, Suigetsu had already liquefied himself thin enough to escape the hole. Congratulations, Suigetsu replied with the same cocky personality as before, as he swung the sword down on Naruto. Naruto instinctively pulled his right arm up to block, and both he and Suigetsu was surprised when the sword didn't slice right through. It was only then when Naruto saw the weights still strapped to his wrist, as it fell to the ground with a loud thud. Pulling his right arm back quickly, he punched forward again, striking Suigetsu in the chest with surprising speed. It did work, Naruto said, as he adjusted his stance. Suigetsu went to slash Naruto again, but met with the weights on Naruto's left arm, breaking them in half, and allowing Naruto to punch Suigetsu in the chest again. Naruto jumped back while Suigetsu recovered, using the time to rip off the remaining weights on his legs and body. That feels better, he said, as with even faster speed, he managed to land a few blows on Suigetsu before he could recover. Naruto withdrew a kunai to block the sword, using his other arm to punch upwards into Suigetsu's arm, loosening his grip on the sword. Naruto turned around and kicked Suigetsu in the chest, only to be met with more water. Luckily, I can still liquidify myself, Suigetsu said, as he charged at Naruto. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Naruto called, as he launched two clones of himself at Suigetsu. The two clones managed to dodge Suigetsu's first attack, but were unable to land a blow on him. Suigetsu ducked under the first clone's kick and blocked the second clone's punch, but failed to notice Naruto sneaking up behind him and punching him in the back. The three Narutos launched themselves at Suigetsu, though this time Suigetsu was able to destroy one of Naruto's clones, and block the attack of the other. Naruto met Liquid once again, as Suigetsu didn't bother to block his punch. Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu, Suigetsu called, as he jumped back and created 2 water clones of himself. The 3 Suigetsus and their swords managed to handle Naruto and his own clone, though they were able to work together better than Suigetsu's own clones. Naruto and his clones sliced through one of Suigetsu's clones with a kunai, as Naruto attacked the second Suigetsu, and his clone attacked the other Suigetsu. As Naruto punched Suigetsu in the face, he dissolved into water, following Naruto's own clone being sliced in half. Naruto withdrew shuriken from his holster and tossed it at Suigetsu, who easily blocked them with his sword. Bunshin Daibakuha, Naruto called, as one clone jumped from Naruto and onto Suigetsu, exploding on him. Naruto thought he had won, but instead only saw a puddle of evaporating water, revealing it to have been another water clone. Game over, Suigetsu replied, his sword to Naruto's neck. Suigetsu looked down at Naruto's neck, and the first thing he saw was the spinning shuriken-shaped tattoo, and the black flames that began to descend from it. Your cursed seal. Check, Naruto replied, as he exploded on Suigetsu. Suigetsu was fast enough to dodge the explosion, but wasn't fast enough to see Naruto appear behind him and kick him in the chest. Suigetsu turned around to slice Naruto, but Naruto quickly ducked and punched Suigetsu in the chest. Surprisingly, instead of liquidifying, Suigetsu's body stayed solid and took the damage. Naruto stood in front of Suigetsu, his cursed seal active and covering half of his body. Chakra grew as he could feel with more pain coming, along with the power. You're making me thirsty, Suigetsu growled, as he adjusted his stance, and Naruto realized what had just happened. That hurt you, didn't it? Naruto asked. The exploding Bunshin, I mean. Shut up, Suigetsu replied, as he tried to slice Naruto, but Naruto dodged and jumped back once again. Suigetsu couldn't keep up with Naruto's newfound speed and his added chakra from his cursed seal. When he did manage to catch up, Naruto easily dodged the sword and jumped back. Your ability relies on being an external source of water. Even the moisture in the air would do, Naruto said, as he figured out how to defeat Suigetsu. The exploding Bunshin managed to evaporate some of the water in the air, and so you can't liquidify yourself. Also, your chakra relies on there being moisture, so you're weakening. Shut up, Suigetsu repeated, as he tried to stab Naruto, but Naruto dodged once again, the cursed seal tempting Naruto into goading Suigetsu to make him feel more humiliated. But don't worry, the moisture in the air is returning. Suigetsu, the watery moon, representing the reflection of the moon in the water, which can be seen, but cannot be touched, Naruto said, as he formed a familiar cross-shaped hand seal. A shark without water is helpless. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Naruto called, as he and 2 of his clones attacked Suigetsu. Suigetsu dodged the first clone and sliced through the second, but Naruto managed to land a kick on Suigetsu, pushing him into his other clone, which punched him in the back. Suigetsu was already able to liquidify himself again, so he didn't feel the attack. Turning around, he dodged another attack from the clone, before liquidifying himself once again as the real Naruto attempted to make an attack. Your theory may be right, but there will always be moisture in the air, no matter what, Suigetsu stated. So no matter what you try, you will never be able to hit me. Hit you? Naruto laughed. I don't even need to hit you anymore. Bunshin Daibakuha, Naruto called, as this time, 5 exploding Bunshins appeared. Naruto's body became more infected by the cursed seal, as Naruto became driven by the power. The exploding Bunshins surrounded Suigetsu, exploding all around him, temporarily evaporating all moisture in the air and rendering him useless. Even further, the explosions lit fire among the plants surrounding them, as Suigetsu began to feel the direness of the situation. I can still kill you, Suigetsu called, but Naruto already had a scroll in his hand, and blood was marked across it. Kuchios, Doton, Suga no Jutsu, summoning, Earth release. Tracking Fang technique. Naruto called, as dogs emerged from the ground and grabbed Suigetsu, trapping him with their bodies and fangs. There is no escape, and even if you do find a way to liquidify, they will drink you. Naruto grinned, as the cursed seal raged more, and Suigetsu dropped his sword. Naruto picked up Zabuza's old sword and weighed it in his hands. Now I can see why you wanted this sword. Naruto grinned, as he pulled the sword back, ready to stab. Game over, Naruto said, thrusting the sword forward to hit someone who was not Suigetsu, instead one of the escaped experiments. Naruto withdrew the sword, and the man who sacrificed himself died. The dogs disappeared and Suigetsu collapsed on the ground in exhaustion. Naruto's mind flashed back. He had just replicated the same moment between Kakashi and Zabuza, from the dogs trapping Zabuza, right down to the attempted Chidori in the chest hitting Haku. What am I doing? Naruto said to himself, realizing that he had just taken a life. He forced his cursed seal to retract, and he felt the pain of it, and the strain it put on his body. Slowly, it obeyed, coming back to its resting place on its neck. Was that the first person you killed? Suigetsu laughed while he was on the ground. I guess it's true. The cursed seal brings out the worst in people. Naruto brought the sword down on Suigetsu, stabbing it into the ground right next to his head. You're just like that monster, Jugo. What do you know about the cursed seal? Naruto asked. And if you try and liquidify your way out of this, I will hit you with a fire jutsu so fast you'll evaporate before you can say, ouched. Naruto lied through his teeth, as he was not able to even create a fire jutsu himself yet. He mentally noted to learn how to use them later on. I do know that the originator of the cursed seal is not Orochimaru, Suigetsu said. It's one of the experiments, but he's probably dead by now. Suigetsu lied through his shark teeth as well, but Naruto couldn't tell, and he just walked away. Regroup, Kakashi called as Guy and Naruto, now with the sword, joined them. They had managed to defeat all of the experiments, and were now standing in the middle of all the destruction. Sorry we're late. Shizune and Tsunade burst from the bushes, as a confused Guy and Kakashi stared at them. We were following Naruto and got lost. He dug a hole, and then we couldn't find him. You, Naruto said, as the Sannin approached Naruto. You lost. Holding the sword up, Tsunade just smiled back. So you won the bet, she said. Here's your prize, Tsunade said, tossing Naruto the necklace. Let's go. I don't want to stay in this graveyard any longer, she said, as she kicked an unconscious body. Suigetsu, Naruto said, as he leant over his opponent's body. After we leave, you have 10 minutes before the Hunter Nin gets here. Pretend to be unconscious. Why? Suigetsu asked. Remember, pretend to be unconscious. Got it? Naruto said, as Suigetsu groaned in reply. I hope we meet again. Naruto, let's go, Guy called, as Naruto quickly caught up, strapping the large sword to his back. It seems you broke my old weights. Sorry, Naruto apologized, as Guy just pulled a good guy pose in response. Do not worry, Naruto. I always keep spares. At that point, Kakashi, Shizune, Tsunade, Naruto, and even Tonton sweat dropped. But these are all 20 kilograms. Even better. Naruto had no chance to stop Guy, as he strapped them to his ankles, wrists, and chest, and along with the sword he could barely walk. Do you think he would have been stupid and not to bring his ring to Konoha? Kisame asked, as he and Itachi searched Orochimaru's hideout, where they recently let all of his prisoners escape. He had a plan, Itachi replied. So either his ring is hiding somewhere here or he still has it and kept it with him to the grave. Wait, Itachi stopped Kisame. Someone's following us. Footsteps approached them, as Itachi used a genjutsu to hide himself. As soon as he caught sight of their stalker, he rushed the stalker from behind, holding a kunai to the stalker's throat. Itachi, it's a girl, Kisame said, pointing at the girl who Itachi was holding a kunai to. Who are you people? The girl asked. I could ask you the same question, Itachi replied. Karen, she said. Itachi never moved, always keeping the kunai a centimeter away from her neck. Where's the ring? Kisame demanded. I don't know, she said, as Itachi checked his surroundings. This was the place where the most powerful of Orochimaru's experiments were kept, though there were only 2 jail cells. Karen, Itachi said, addressing her by her name. Who are in those 2 cells? Kimimaro, the last Kagaya clan member, she said, pointing to the cell to the right. And Jugo, the originator of the Cursed Seal. An immediate plan formed in Itachi's mind, a way to solve all his problems at once. Kisame, open the cells. We both have a problem. Jiraiya paced the small room in his apartment, rubbing his chin in the process. And I think that's the only solution. Are you sure? Kakashi asked, as he walked circles around the room. It's a big risk. A risk necessary to take. Jiraiya replied. It's the only option. Will you do it? I guess so, Kakashi replied. Yeah, I'll definitely do it then. Train me, Naruto said, as he stalked Kakashi down the hallways. I'm busy, Kakashi said, scribbling notes furiously into his notepad. The Hokage just appointed me with a new mission. So what, bring me along? I'm Chunin, you know, Naruto stated, but Kakashi's one eye was focused on the notepad. A mission is a mission, Naruto. Train with Guy or someone else, Kakashi said. Sasuke is already training by himself. Sakura is training by herself as well, with Tsunade's subordinate Shizen. A light bulb sounded off in Kakashi's head, as he began writing more notes. I'm going to have a chat with Sakura and Shizen. What about me? Naruto asked as Kakashi quickly formulated a plan. I still need more jutsu. I have an idea. Meet me on training grounds in 2 hours, Kakashi said, as he disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Like you'll be there early, Naruto muttered. In exactly 2 hours, Naruto cursed himself for expecting Kakashi to show up early on training grounds. He yawned, as he opted to relax on the ground, rather than stay standing. As a Chunin, he was expected to take more missions, but he found himself being ignored, getting all the boring missions such as chasing cats and gardening in backyards, jobs that were usually reserved for genin. He was dressed in a simple black shirt with orange pants with his sword strapped to his back, as he found that his new Chunin vest got in the way when training, as did the weights that were still strapped to his body. He had almost forgotten he had weights attached to himself, as he had already gotten used to them, and had also gotten used to avoiding Guy, for whenever they met, he would add more weights to the toll. That's a big piece of metal, a voice from behind Naruto said, as he turned around to see Ino. You've been gone for a while. Missions, Naruto replied, as Ino sat next to him. What are you doing here? Boredom. Chuji's out eating, Shikamaru and Asuma are playing shugi, and the flower shop is being handled by my mother. So I'm bored. Ino turned to see Naruto, the usual loudmouthed Naruto quiet. How did we get here? Naruto asked. Pardon, she replied. To you being so kind? The last conversation we had before the Forest of Death was you yelling at me, Naruto said. If I can remember properly. If you put it like that, I don't really know myself, Ino replied. I'm confused about it as well. It seems so random, Naruto said. First there was the Forest of Death, and then the battle against Gaara. Since when were we even friends? You know what? Ino said as she began to stand up. I think I'm suffering a memory blank. All I remember is me being angry at Sasuke and Sakura, and then… It doesn't really make sense, does it? Naruto replied. Sounds like a badly written story. By a screwed-up author. Ino added. So what now? I guess we go out for some ramen? Naruto asked, and as if on cue to ruining his plans, Kakashi appeared behind Naruto, scribbling more notes into his notepad. Or not. Am I interrupting something? Kakashi's eyes strayed away from his book as he stared at a very confused and shocked Ino. I was just about to leave, Ino said as she turned around. I'll take up that offer, Naruto. We'll have that ramen. It's a date, Naruto called out as she just walked off. It's a date. Naruto could hear Kakashi speak whisper under his breath as he wrote more and more. What is that anyway? Naruto asked. I already told you, mission from the Hokage, Kakashi said. So about the jutsu you want to learn? I definitely want to make my own jutsu, Naruto said. One that beats Sasuke's Rasengan. Kakashi smiled. Rasengan was already a powerful jutsu, and trying to create a better jutsu would prove to be difficult. Naruto, for your new jutsu, chakra control is important, Kakashi replied to the Chunin. I know that chakra control isn't one of my strong points, Naruto admitted, shrugging his shoulders. So are you going to teach me it? No, but I have found a teacher for you that specializes in it, Kakashi said. He's an expert in these sorts of things, and he'll be able to make your new technique formidable. He's right behind you. Naruto instantly turned around to see the familiar-looking Konoha shinobi. You? Naruto gasped. Sorry, I forgot who you are. The man was an ANBU, dressed in a gray shirt and black pants, with a black vest covering the shirt. The only item of uniform that identified him as an ANBU was his mask. My name is Yakushi Kabuto, he said as he removed his mask. As well as being an ANBU medic nin, I am an expert in chakra control. Kabuto was one of the youngest ANBU nin, sent to infiltrate Orochimaru, Kakashi said. Didn't you fight him? Naruto asked. During the exam? Wasn't he an enemy? He also helped you during the exam as well, Kakashi stated. For a while we thought he suffered something like Stockholm Syndrome, but Jiraiya managed to clear it up afterwards. Well, I better leave you two together. Kakashi disappeared in front of Naruto for the second time that day, leaving Naruto with Kabuto. It seems you don't like the Chunin vest either. Kabuto smiled, breaking the ice. The vest isn't the only way of identifying your rank. There are other things, take skill as an example. The vest gets in my way, Naruto replied. And I already am skilled. I just need a new jutsu. As do those weights. And Kakashi already told me you wanted to develop a new jutsu, so I'm here to teach you chakra control, Kabuto said as Naruto nodded. As a medic nin, chakra control is one of the biggest demands. With it, I am able to match the speed of even the fastest shinobi. Yeah, right? Naruto replied. Prove it. Take off your weights, Kabuto said, as Naruto complied, removing the weights on his body. If I hurt you, I warned you, Naruto stated, as Kabuto just smiled cockily in response. Naruto began by taking off the giant sword on his back, followed by his weights. This should be fun. Naruto immediately noticed the increase in his own speed, as he jumped towards Kabuto faster than even he expected. Shunshin no Jutsu, Kabuto said, matching Naruto's speed, much to Naruto's surprise, dodging his attack and getting under the body of the Chunin. Chakra formed around his hand, as he struck Naruto's ankles with his palms, following with the other vital points of his legs. Naruto immediately fell onto the ground, his legs rendered numb for a couple of seconds. That move was designed to mimic the Hyuga's gentle palm style. Only a medic nin with chakra control and knowledge of the human body could do that without the Byakugan. Kabuto approached Naruto's body, leaning over the boy. I wonder why Jiraiya chose Sasuke over you. You bear a striking resemblance to the fourth himself. And I'm just as powerful. Naruto grinned as he stood up. And just as cocky, Kabuto replied. You knew him? Naruto asked as Kabuto thought carefully about his answer. Something of that sort, Kabuto said. Your movements are quick, but not very trained. Too wild and brawling, no precision at all. The only good quality about your fighting style is the unpredictability. And you're an expert on taijutsu? Naruto scoffed. I know enough to know that something else is blocking your chakra pathway, Kabuto said, as he begun his diagnosis. That seal on your neck I noticed earlier. You've used it. How many times? Twice, Naruto replied. And it bloody well hurt both the times. Kabuto smacked him on the head as soon as Naruto had finished speaking. Don't swear in front of me. Do you know why the cursed seal hurts so much? Kabuto asked, as Naruto shook his head. Orochimaru put a seal on your chest in the Forest of Death, right? Yeah. The cursed seal, or the one you have, was built to unlock hidden chakra, as well as invoking a sort of mutation to change itself and the user at the same time. Kabuto explained. But since Orochimaru added another seal to your body that didn't allow you to get chakra from the Kyuubi, it remained hidden. So, when the cursed seal was used, it extracted the hidden Kyuubi chakra from the seal and bypassing the other seals on your body furthermore, creating more pain. So all I have to do is unseal the first seal Orochimaru put on me, and I wouldn't have to worry about the cursed seal? Naruto asked, as Kabuto hid a hand behind his back, as each fingertip lit up with chakra. Well, we'll see. By the time Kabuto had finished his sentence, he had already reached Naruto and had his hand placed on his chest. Gogyo Kaien, 5 elements unseal. Naruto fell over after being struck, but he found the pain left him rather quickly. Whoa, that feels different, Naruto said, as he could feel the Kyuubi chakra freely mixing with his own once again. Finally, we can begin the real training, Kabuto said, as he gently removed a card from his pocket. What's that? Naruto asked. This card will help me define your element, Kabuto said, before explaining further. There are 5 core elements when using chakra: fire, wind, lightning, earth and water. Each weaker than the previous, though stronger than the next. Fire is weaker than water, but stronger than wind. When creating a jutsu, you should know what element you are, as you will be stronger in jutsus of your element. So, touch this card. Naruto's hand stretched out as he touched the card. As soon as he touched it, it snapped in half and fell to the ground. What does that mean? Wind, Kabuto said. The sharpest element. You'll have to master it before you use it though. That should be easy. What do you want me to do? Naruto said overconfidently. Break that boulder in half. Kabuto pointed to the giant rock, as Naruto began to grab his sword. With only chakra, specifically, wind chakra. But, Naruto protested. Wind is sharper than any sword. Learn that first, Kabuto said, as he walked over to a tree to rest. He knew it would take a while, and he would be surprised if he had managed to do it in a day. After an hour of testing out ways to break the boulder with just his chakra, Naruto was stumped. He had circled the boulder for what seemed like the 1000th time until he finally found a way to crack the surface. The boulder was about 3 meters long and 3 meters high and was, as a boulder usually is, rock hard. The only method that had worked for Naruto had barely managed to crack the surface, and had taken him 10 minutes to do. He placed his hand on the boulder and focused all his chakra into his hand, imagining it as a thin blade trying to cut through rock. And it would crack. It'll take me years if I do this by myself. And then Naruto had an idea. The Kage Bunshin. Whenever he used the Kage Bunshin, anything he had seen or learnt came right back to him. And so an experience learnt when cracking the boulder would come back to him as well. So if he had 10 clones all working on the boulder at once, one of them would find a quicker way eventually, and in the meantime the other 9 would continuously crack the surface. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Naruto called, as the 10 clones surrounded the boulder, all knowing the job they had to do. I wonder when I got so smart. Naruto praised himself as they began their job. It took another hour to figure out how to complete the job faster. He was pushing out his chakra first and then converting it into wind, and found it would be easier to convert it to wind first, and once he had done that he could push out all the chakra he needed. He made the clones, who did not know the information yet, disappear by cutting off their chakra supply, and replaced them with more clones who knew what to do. The 10 Narutos pulled their hands back, focusing on converting their chakra. Kai! The 10 Narutos called, as they all pushed out chakra at the same time, slicing the boulder in half. That quick, this boy is getting smarter. Kabuto was woken up by the sound of the boulder slicing and walked over to Naruto to congratulate him. You did it. Kabuto smiled as Naruto was catching his breath, as all his bunshins had already disappeared in chakra depletion. Kabuto-sensei, Naruto said, calling him his teacher. I think I figured out what my new jutsu is. Give me 10 minutes and I'll show you. Naruto said with the added Kyuubi chakra, he was able to regenerate his chakra supply, thus allowing him to show off his new jutsu once more. I'll half the size of this boulder, Naruto said as he faced the boulder, now only 2 meters tall, but still 3 meters tall. Mimicking the stance of Kakashi when he created a Raikiri, he faced the boulder with a determined look on his face. At first Kabuto thought Naruto was going to make a Raikiri himself, when he saw what was forming in his hand. White lightning, Kabuto said. It's not lighting, Naruto said, as more formed into his hand. It's wind, but it's unstable, so it looks like lightning. Naruto was right, as the wind wasn't kept in one circular form, it was untamed, thus making it look like lightning. Futon Tenshiden, sky-piercing bullet, Naruto called, as he thrust his palm forward onto the boulder. At first Kabuto thought nothing had happened, but then suddenly the right half of the boulder came apart, and that the boulder had suffered major internal destruction. Kabuto knew that if this had been done to a human, his body would have probably been destroyed. It worked more as an internal bomb than a bullet, as it was thrust into the rock, before slicing outwards. What? Naruto asked, looking at the look on Kabuto's face. It's wind, right? Cut right through. You two are here for a reason, the Hokage said to Tsunade and Jiraiya, who were currently standing in front of him. Konoha is under crisis, and we need all our nins here to help out. And you want us to be Hokage? Jiraiya said. Quiet, the Hokage said. Sorry, sensei. I mean Hokage-sama. Tsunade corrected herself, as she felt like they were back to when they were younger. Now one of you has to take up the decision. I have already informed the village elders, and they agree that it has to be one of you, and they've already chosen that one. The Hokage said. All 3 of us should already know who they've chosen, so you know what you have to do now. I already knew, Jiraiya admitted. That's why I gave up my writing duties to Kakashi. You gave up researching? Tsunade scoffed. Kakashi is my #1 fan after all. He knows where the book series was going anyway, Jiraiya replied, and for a second, Tsunade thought he had matured. So, Jiraiya, I take it you're accepting to become Hokage? Sandaime said, as he removed the Hokage hat and handed it over. Jiraiya placed the hat on with a grin. Tsunade, I think the new Hokage needs a parade. Jiraiya grinned, his immaturity returning. Oh, and could you guys please excuse me? Me and the crystal ball need a little time alone. I really hope you made the right choice, sensei, Tsunade whispered to the former Hokage as they walked out of the office. Jiraiya opened up the windows of the Hokage office as he yelled out the window. For my first act as Hokage, beer for men and fake breasts for women. Yeah. I'm going to kill him, Tsunade said, as she began to rush upstairs.